Call now, 833-945-7283.
Platform safety is critical at your commercial and industrial facility. Keeping people safe and meeting OSHA requirements isn't optional. That's why Vans Industrial offers free platform inspections by professional structural engineers who know exactly what to look for. Problems with platforms, ladders, or stairs can lead to costly fines or worse. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to protect people in your facility.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. With decades of experience, I bring long-standing industry knowledge from inspecting, correcting, and replacing countless platforms to make facilities safer. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor equipped to modify or replace steel catwalks, handrails, stairways, and ladders. Our union building trades professionals fabricate and install high-quality steel systems that create safer work environments.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free platform inspection by professional structural engineers. See what else we can do for you. Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS Industrial.com.
Picture warm Gulf breezes, turquoise waters, white sand beaches. Now, add evenings of conversation with Salem Media's Mike Gallagher, Scott Jennings, Larry O'Connor, and Jennifer Horn. This November, sail from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Mexico on a 7-day journey built for those who love this country. Book your cabin today when you text the word cruise to 94878. Celebrate America's 250th anniversary the right way on the Gulf of America Cruise. Book your cabin now. Text the word cruise to 94878. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage. Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect a mix of clouds and sunshine with a chance of a shower in the area during the afternoon, reaching a high of 61. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a chance of a shower in spots with a low of 44. Tomorrow, anticipate variable cloud cover with a few showers possible and temperatures reaching a high of 63. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Yesterday, we ended the show talking about this outgoing Cook County Board of Review Commissioner, Samantha Steele. She got popped for a DUI in November of 2024, and she was acquitted this week in Cook County. Cook County elected official being acquitted in a bench trial, 2-day bench trial by a Cook County judge. And the facts of the case, just briefly, she was involved in an accident. She crashed her friend's car into 2 parked cars. Officers at the scene said, and you'll hear this in the body cam video, which I'll replay momentarily, she smelled of alcohol. She refused a breathalyzer test or sobriety test, field sobriety test. So she was arrested. And allegedly, according to the police report, on the hospital, in the ambulance and transit to the hospital, she made a disparaging remark about one of the officers' manhood. Said he had a small penis. So here is the stop. Pay particular attention to her immediate reaction, because this is going to be germane now that she did an interview with ABC7 yesterday to defend her good name.
It's going to help you to exit, and you don't want that.
You don't want that.
I do.
An elected official.
I actually do. Elected official of what?
Cook County.
Cook County. You elected which office? What's your name?
I'm Sam.
Sam who?
You need to get out of the car. Yes, do that. That's all you got to do, and then wait for me. I'll be there in 10 minutes.
I'm waiting for him?
Yeah, you got to come out.
You get out of the car.
I'll stay in the car.
Be careful with traffic, man. Stay right here. Stay right here. We don't want you to go out. pretty ball to there. Okay.
Fine.
Now you can hang up the phone, ma'am.
No.
We're still doing our
My
investigation.
attorney.
Okay. Now, tell your attorney, since he's on the phone, are you going to do field sobriety test or no?
No.
Okay.
No,
Are you
wait,
being
wait.
arrested? You say no. I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that. We waiting for that. Because she refused. I asked her to do field sobriety test and she refused. And she smelled like alcohol. She's been drinking. Oh, so you've been recorded all this time. You've been recorded.
Yeah.
All right?
Okay, so that was that. The ER doctor also testified that he believed that she was intoxicated. But she was acquitted in Cook County, a Cook County elected official. And, one wonders, as I did yesterday, one wonders aloud, is this one of those cases where the rules are for thee, but not for me? Two-tiered justice system, not based on wealth, based on politics. Well, Ms. Steele spoke to ABC7, as I said. The point about immediately telling the cop that she was an elected official, you might think, as I did, that that was her trying to Bigfoot the cop. No.
I was just expressing that I know my rights, right? I'm more attuned with our rights than the average person, I would think.
Actually, I find that elected officials in Cook County are less attuned with the Constitution than the average person, don't you? 312-642-5600 is the alphawealthgroup.com call and text line. I was just telling him that I know my rights. Excuse me, sir. I'm a member of the Cook County Board of Review, so just be on notice to not try anything funny. I'm well versed in the law, you see. Oh, man. I think she's going to regret this interview. And she, according to Sarah Schulte, reporting for ABC7, she said this as to why she refused the sobriety tests.
Steele refused to take sobriety tests. She says she was disoriented from the accident.
Wait a second. You crash into these cars. You tell the officer immediately, hi, I'm an elected official. But you're too disoriented. And that was, in your words, to demonstrate that you know your rights. So you were cognizant, right? You were oriented enough to lead with elected official, and you're saying that the thought process there was to demonstrate to the officer, I know my rights, so you're on notice. But then you were too oriented to make a decision to submit to field sobriety tests. Huh. I'm not sure I can follow the logical thread there. She also denies the penis statement.
I absolutely 100% never said that.
And, of course, the real culprit here, Cook County State's Attorney's Office, why they even wasted any time here. Well, there's two culprits. One is the person, this guy Frank Calabrese, who's, I guess, worked in her office and was fired or separated from his position somehow. He posted the video of her DUI stop that went viral because it smacks of somebody trying to use their position as a politician to evade the law. And so she blames him, like, my political career was ended by an attack by a consultant. He posted public record body cam footage of a DUI stop, and you said what you said, and it got passed around because I think most people are having the reaction to it that I'm having. Her interview only compounding that. But the Cook County State's Attorney shouldn't have wasted the resources on it.
Steele also blames the Cook County State's Attorney for wasting taxpayer dollars pursuing the drunk driving case. A statement from the office reads in part, quote, CCSAO prosecuted the case because we believe the facts and the evidence demonstrated that the defendant violated the law.
Yeah, and by the way, when we talked about this at the end of the show yesterday, there was some suggestion, these acquittals happen all the time in DUI cases. I don't think they do. And I talked to a defense attorney friend of mine who does work in the traffic division in Cook County. He's like, particularly when there is an accident involved, she crashed into two cars. Particularly when there's an accident and you have the officers making the statement they made, corroborated by an emergency room physician, and the sort of contextual information in terms of contextual facts in terms of how she responded, and even after the fact, what she's saying, as I'm saying right here, right? I was demonstrating, so I was clear enough of mind to demonstrate, which is why I mentioned I'm an elected official, but I was too disoriented to submit to a field sobriety test. By the way, the Cook County Traffic Division, I guess the head of it is a judge named Diane Marsalak. She made some news back in the heady days of COVID when she jumped the vaccine line to get herself and a few other judges shots. She's the presiding judge of the traffic division, and as one attorney friend of mine said, promoted like most in Cook County based on extreme incompetence. Well, extreme incompetence, that's not a disqualifier, but promoted by most because of the right political relationships, I presume. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Only a few short months ago, you heard silver was up 40%. Well, silver is now up over 260%. Fox Valley Coins saw it coming, and they're ready to help. Unlike dealers that only buy or only sell, Fox Valley Coins does both. No middleman. That means you get the best deal on the dollar. Selling? Fox Valley Coins pays top dollar for rare coins, scrap gold and silver, bars, proof sets, and entire collections of any size, going through every item right in front of you. Cash, check, or wire transfer. Buying? Fox Valley Coins carries all major gold, silver, and platinum physical products. Complete discretion. Your business stays your business. Fox Valley Coins, family-owned integrity since 1981 on Route 59, one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Fox Valley Coins. Buy smart, sell smart.
AM 560, The Answer.
And just a footnote, as I mentioned yesterday, I mentioned Diane Marsalak because she's the presiding judge in the traffic division. In case there was any question or interest in reviewing the decision by the judge who actually presided in the trial of Samantha Steele, and that was Don Suriano, who was a retired judge who was called back by the state Supreme Court. And I guess he's allowed to stay because he didn't write an op-ed praising Trump while in retirement, like Cook County Judge Jimmy Brown, who then was removed by the state Supreme Court and is now that removal is now the subject of litigation, which we're following. All right, coming up at 5:38, we'll stick on local, talk about what Alderhuman Silvana Tabaraz had to say to Anjanette Young and about the CCPSA and police in Chicago. That's at 5:38. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
35 degrees in Chicago. In the QC Kinetics newsroom, watch out for a frost advisory in effect this morning. U.S. and Iran reportedly closing in on a memorandum aimed at ending the war. President Trump expressing confidence in a deal being reached. Meantime, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is meeting with Pope Leo at the Vatican today. The meeting comes after earlier encounters between the two and follows recent political tensions between President Donald Trump and Pope Leo. Family and friends gather today to remember the Chicago police officer shot and killed last month at a Northside hospital. A visitation for Officer John Bartholomew will be held at St. Andrew's Greek Orthodox Church in Chicago today. Des Plaines officials say 15 were hurt after an explosion and a huge apartment building fire. 3 victims this morning remain in critical condition. It took several hours for first responders to control the fire. Flames damaged several units and displaced dozens. Mayor Brandon Johnson still trying to convince state lawmakers Chicago is the best place for the Bears. Mayor lobbied legislative leaders yesterday in Springfield.
We already know the governor doesn't like the bill. The Bears do not like the bill. There are members in the Senate caucus, both sides of the aisle, that do not like the bill.
The mayor also urged lawmakers to increase the city's share of state revenue and advance several new city taxing authorities.
Local municipalities have had to bear the brunt of federal attack, and it's imperative in this moment that we remain united.
And Round Lake Heights police say the department is investigating. It was an incident at an area middle school after 6 students were hospitalized after ingesting THC gummies. The district said the sickened children were hospitalized and are now in stable condition. Cubs beat the Reds 3-2 for their 7th straight win, and the White Sox fell to the Angels 4-3 and opened a 9-game homestand on Friday. Check of weather coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. This year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Donley Auctions.
Each morning, the newsmakers and the newsbreakers shaping today's conversation are heard on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line on Chicago's Morning Answer. When you need answers about what's happening in your world, you turn to AM 560 The Answer. And when you need answers about how to prepare for and protect your retirement, you turn to the Alpha Wealth Group, now the proud sponsor of the AM 560 Answer line, right here on Chicago's source for news, opinion, and insight. AM 560 The Answer.
The Stephanie Trussell Show speaks to the heart of where you live, work, and raise your family. Every week, Stephanie brings you the conversations that matter most, from our local neighborhoods to the halls of Springfield, covering the local issues and the real solutions. Stephanie sits down with the local leaders, candidates, and everyday heroes who are fighting to make Illinois a place you're proud to call home. Stephanie is your community, your voice. The Stephanie Trussell Show, heard Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. right here on AM 560 The Answer.
Virago is fending off viruses and making America healthy again.
Hi, my name is Dr. Michael Huber. I'm one of the co-founders of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. Here are some of the testimonials of Virago users.
Hello, my name is Jim Thompson. I started taking Virago about 1.5 years ago. I was diagnosed with a heart condition, and in fact, I was at the Cleveland Clinic applying for one of their trials. The bad news is that I was not accepted for the trial. The good news is that my heart was healthier than they wanted, and I believe that's a result of taking Virago. I can also attest that I have not had the flu or COVID since I started taking Virago. I can definitely attest to my satisfaction with staying healthy by taking Virago every day.
Boost your immune system with Virago. Order your bottle today. Visit myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com.
And use promo code IMMUNE to get 30% off.
That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Virago and Maha, making America healthy again.
There's a new kind of energy at Starbucks. Try the all-new Energy Refreshers. Strawberry Acai, Mango Dragon Fruit, or the all-new Mango Strawberry. New Energy Refreshers, only at Starbucks.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today, expect a mix of clouds and sunshine with a chance of a shower in the area this afternoon. The high will reach 61 degrees. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a chance of a shower in spots, and the low will be around 44 degrees. Tomorrow, anticipate variable cloud cover with a few showers possible, and temperatures will climb to a high of 63 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. As you heard Mike Scott reporting, visitation for fallen Chicago police officer John Bartholomew today from 2 to 8 p.m. at St. Andrew's Greek Orthodox Church on North Sheridan Road. And funeral services will be tomorrow at 10 a.m. at the same location. So there was a confirmation hearing for the Chicago Communication Commission for Public Safety and Accountability. That's a mouthful. The CCPSA, for those of you keeping track of your alphabet soup agencies and commissions and boards at home. The CCPSA, and one of the nominees, Anjanette Young. She was the victim of a mistaken police raid. They got the address wrong. You remember, and there's body cam video, and they break into her house, and she doesn't have clothes on, and it was embarrassing, and the police made a mistake, and the city had to pay for it. Fine. That doesn't necessarily mean Miss Young has any particular insights on law enforcement or public safety. It also, as Alderwoman Silvana Tabarez pointed out in her remarks, because the police made a mistake in that case, because there have been, of course, cases of police misconduct, that this sort of redundant, citizen-driven public safety and accountability outfit needs to exist. How many layers do we need here? But Tabarez began her comments by pointing to a disturbing trend since the George Floyd riots, the Summer of Love. You know, remember when the city was looted twice? You remember that? You old enough? Disturbing trend in violence directed at police officers that is not abating.
I was just expressing that I know my rights, right? I'm more...
This is directed to Ms. Anjanette Young. I'd like to lay out and discuss some statistics with you. From 2014 to 2019, Chicago police officers were shot or shot at an average of 20 times per year, from 2014 to 2019. In 2020, the number increased 339% to 79 officers in that year. In 2021, it was 76. In 2022, 55. In 2023, 68. And in 2024, 62. During this period, the Chicago Police Department recovered over 40,000 guns. We also lost police officers Ella French, Officer Andres Vasquez Lasso, Officer Ariana Preston, Officer Luis Huesca, Officer Enrique Martinez, Officer Crystal Rivera, and recently Officer John Bartholomew, as his partner continues to fight for his life in the hospital. This spike in violence against police occurred in the wake of the George Floyd riots and the height of the defund the police movement.
Mm-hmm. And she pointed out that in a number of those murders, the police officers were ambushed, targeted, represents not just the spike, but represents a bit of a cultural shift in a destructive direction, clearly. And then remember, she's addressing Anjanette Young here. And then she turned to the Dexter Reed case. This was an attempted cop killer. He shot a cop. And the city was going to write his family a big settlement because the cop shot and killed him after he opened fire on them. Talk about a cultural shift. And Anjanette Young made an unfortunate comment that didn't get past Silvana Tabarez. And it's important to note, if you didn't know, that Tabarez's husband is a Chicago police officer. So this is personal to her, in part. And maybe it should be more personal to more Chicagoans.
Recently, the city council denied a proposed lawsuit settlement for the estate of attempted police murderer Dexter Reed. In that incident, Reed shot a police officer. Mm-hmm. You were quoted in an interview with WTTW calling police returning fire excessive. With the statistics telling the truth, and as we prepare for an officer's funeral on Friday, I don't think that this is the perspective of somebody who can be objective. You're before the committee today seeking an appointment to a commission born out of the same movement that also saw the skyrocketing of attacks on police. Since its creation of the CCPSA, the commission has mostly pushed efforts to restrict officers, despite data showing more violence is done to officers, not by officers.
312-642-5600, alphawealthgroup.com, answer line and text line. Got a little exercise there, which is fine. This CCPSA born out of the same BLM defund the police movement. The same BLM defund the police movement that gave birth to the current political power structure of the city and the county and the state in large measure. Oh, by the way.
The CCPSA's existence is unnecessary, and tax dollars could be better spent elsewhere. If it exists, we need individuals who can analyze statistics and develop sound public safety policies that protect police officers and the public. We need individuals who are avoiding dangerous anti-police rhetoric that incites violence. For that reason, I am voting no.
Okay. I mean, that was a nice performance, and I don't mean that in a pejorative. I mean, those were thoughtful remarks that Alderwoman Tabarez offered there, and I agree with the no vote. But even still, even here, I got to tell you, it's just not enough. She is one of the better ones, particularly on policing, and I'm sure it's in part because it's personal. And, of course, that's a low bar when we're talking about the city council, which is normally, 40 to 50 trained SEALs doing whatever the mayor deems. But this op-ed that she wrote in the Chicago Tribune just a couple days ago, city leaders and residents deserve transparency from the Cook County courts. And she starts out by talking about the murder of Chicago police officer John Bartholomew. And she talks about a public safety crisis in Chicago. And she offers this: besides the many questions that must be answered about court warrants, questions also remain regarding Cook County's electronic monitoring and GPS programs, the provisions of the Safety Act that affect judges' detention of violent offenders, and the process to appoint, assign, and remove a member of the judiciary who puts the public at risk. Yes, questions do abound. And she talked about some resolution to initiate a task force. She goes on to talk about the danger of warrants that don't get served, and thus police come upon people with outstanding warrants and don't necessarily have all the details to fully evaluate the dangers, or it just unnecessarily puts police in dangerous situations with people that should be detained. But here's the thing where it just falls flat for me. The best we get is like Tabaraz diagnosing and detailing the obvious, glaring problems. I mean, the malfeasance and that's ideologically driven, and the consequences are stark. You know, it's like pointing to a sunset. They're saying that's a sunset. I know. But here's what she comes up with. The current Cook County court system is excluded by law from compliance with FOIA, which is the law meant to provide accountability and transparency. This means that victims and witnesses are meant to trust the court system to protect them that does not have checks and balances. Instead of pointing fingers, though, to all of these clear-cut problem areas, I'm seeking solutions. This month, I will be introducing a resolution inviting county agencies and city departments to a hearing before the Chicago City Council to share information about the Cook County court system and its impact on city operations. The hearing will be public, and I invite all residents to participate. We will work together to find solutions to help prevent future tragedies, protect our residents, and develop plans for a unified approach to improving transparency and accountability. The end. A fairy tale ending. 312-642-5600, alphawealthgroup.com. A call and text line. I mean, this is, even when you have somebody who recognizes it and is willing to say what it is publicly. A resolution for a task force, because, you know, that's what's lacking. It's just county and city departments, all the little panjan drums of these fiefdoms in city and county government just need to come together, share information, talk about best practices, and then we're going to develop plans that are implemented in a collaborative fashion to blah, 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 blah. I mean, that's not what is required. It's just like that demonstrates either an inability or lack of desire to do what is required, or a misunderstanding of the objective. The mission in Chicago and Illinois is and has been counter-revolution. Common sense counter-revolution, the same thing you're seeing to a certain extent at the federal level in reaction to the neo-Marxist party's reign and their impact on larger American culture. That's what Illinois is. That's the state where Illinois is. It is a party, I mean, it is a state that is being devastated by a neo-Marxist revolutionary party. And it doesn't mean that, oh, some of these guys are good guys. They're old-time machine guys, or they're Democrats, or they don't agree with Welch, or they don't agree with Harmon. They don't agree with Tony. Doesn't matter. They're collaborators, to borrow a phrase, with this neo-Marxist party's revolutionary ambitions. I mean, you've got almost a dozen members of the city council that are DSA, Democrat Socialists of America, which is the same thing as to say neo-Marxist, and the same thing to say is neo-Marxist revolutionary. These are mediating institution destroyers. So if you want mediating institutions like schools and public safety agencies and civic organizations, and even, I would say, businesses, then you have to confront them. You're not going to work with them to address the systemic problems that you have identified. They're inflicting these problems. I'm going to work with the authors of the Safety Act to improve public safety. I'm sorry, what? You know, she put a nice step forward there, and as I said, she's reasonable on these and other issues, but it's not enough. And we're so quick to applaud anything that is not from the mind and mouth of the criminally insane, but I'm not going to do that for her. We have to improve or elevate our expectations to get improved work product from individuals who know better and are saying better, but are still a little reticent to demand better, to take up the actual mission that is before anybody who has an interest in improving the quality of life, frankly, rescuing the city of Chicago from disintegration. Mark in Oak Lawn, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Dan, great show. You know, I'm not the most articulate guy or smart guy, but put it in simple terms. Until you're never going to turn the city around until you get rid of the Safety Act. It's the bottom line. It's it's good versus evil, and they've turned it all around and flip-flopped it, where the criminals are the good guys, and the neo-Marxists, they just go along with it. It's for the votes. It's horrible.
Thanks for the call, Mark. I mean, let me give you just another example of what I'm talking about. This is Nick Kristof. Nick Kristof is, New York Times columnist. He's we've had him on the show, actually. I mean, he's a man of the left, but every now and again he has a fit of critical self-reflection for himself and the left. And he had one in a discussion about what's going on in these big cities and what's going on in these big blue states like California and Illinois and New York. This was at the Milken Institute confab. Talked about Ken Griffin's remarks yesterday at the same conference. But, Kristof had this to say. I mean, when was... from a somewhat intellectual, leftist, well-to-do leftist, or from one of these apparatchiks you see in their CTU shirts raging on the streets of Chicago, indoctrinating the kids on May Day. Who on the left says anything like this locally?
We talk a good game about the importance of education, and yet a black kid in Mississippi is 2.5 times as likely to be proficient in math and reading by 4th grade as a black kid in California. Mm-hmm. And so do we need to look a little bit less at what the Trump administration is doing to harm working class families and look a little more in the mirror?
There's a counter-revolutionary concept. And teachers in Mississippi make about 60% of what teachers in California make. You won't be surprised to learn. Black kid in Mississippi has 2.5 times more likely to be proficient in reading at grade level. Of course, we know this. We talk about this on this show all the time. But it won't matter until it gets to the grass tops and the grassroots of people who actually are in these systems. Till that knowledge is not confined to Chicago's Morning Answer and the Millikan Institute confab. But I mean, the data is unmistakable. Translating it, storyfying it, distributing it, and trying to get through the pillars of granite in some of these, in the consciousness in some of these neighborhoods and some of these cohorts is quite another thing, as we found out. Text from 224, you said men on the left, no men there. Well, that's a fair point, isn't it? Dan Propp, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage. Scott Jennings fearlessly fights back against the mainstream media on the Scott Jennings podcast.
When Republicans have even a whiff of scandal, what do we hear? Resign, step down, zero tolerance. Where is the Democratic Party? Where is the outrage? Where is the moral clarity? What do we hear from cable news? Nothing.
Subscribe for free today on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Twitchy.com brings you the latest in social news, highlighting and reacting to important conversations from America's most prominent journalists, politicians, and celebrities. Twitchy's kinetic group of editors deliver fast and amusing content around the clock to tell you who said what in global and political news, sports, entertainment, and media. If it's news, they're on it. If it should be news, they're ahead of it. Stay connected to the newswire of the 21st century with Twitchy.com. Twitchy.com.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560, The Answer.
Speaking of California, LA mayor's debate. Spencer Pratt, Karen Basura Bass, Nithya Raman. As you might expect if you've been following Pratt, some fireworks. We'll talk about what may be a common sense counter-revolution going on in a major city, that city being LA. 6:06, it's now 6 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
President Trump insists Iran wants their conflict to end. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
They want to make a deal. We've had very good talks over the last 24 hours, and it's very possible that we'll make a deal.
And he warns the bombing could resume if Iran does not agree, as the blockade remains on Iran's ports after the U.S. military shot at and stopped an oil tanker trying to get through.
We are getting new details on the American proposal to end the war with Iran. The Wall Street Journal reports the new U.S. proposal includes Iran handing over all enriched material, a 20-year ban on enrichment, and a ban on underground nuclear work. Iran's foreign ministry says the regime is still examining the memorandum, but a response is expected in the hours or days ahead.
Fox's Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is at the Vatican talking to Pope Leo, who upset the president with comments critical of the Iran conflict and calling for peace.
As far as the Pope is concerned, and it's very simple, whether I make him happy or I don't make him happy, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says this trip was not meant to address the friction between the president and the Pope. He says this had been on the books long before those tense exchanges between the two were laid out in the open. But still, Rubio, a practicing Catholic, indicates there are other places where the administration can find common ground with the church.
That's Fox's Madeline Rivera. Now an update on the cruise ship dealing with the deadly hantavirus outbreak that's killed 3 people and sickened others.
Everyone else is isolated in their cabins as the ship heads for the Canary
Islands. Hantavirus usually infects humans who inhaled rodent droppings and can then be spread person to person. It's thought a Dutch couple, now deceased, caught the virus while bird watching in Argentina. Former passengers, now in 3 U.S. states, are reportedly being monitored, but none has yet shown symptoms.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. America's listening to Fox News.
37 degrees in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Family and friends will gather today to remember the Chicago police officer shot and killed last month at a Northside hospital. Visitation for Officer John Bartholomew will be held from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. at St. Andrew's Greek Orthodox Church in Chicago. 2 teens are now charged after a resource officer lost his gun at an Arlington Heights school. Authorities say an Arlington Heights police officer assigned to Forest View Education Center reported his service revolver missing after removing it from his holster while using the restroom on Monday. Detectives later determined that 18-year-old student Juan Sanchez Yamarillo took the unattended firearm from the restroom after school was dismissed. Shortly thereafter, he gave that weapon to a 17-year-old in a neighboring community. A longtime deputy district director for Congressman Danny Davis is accused of fraudulently obtaining unemployment insurance benefits during the COVID pandemic. Gerald Moorer of Chicago is charged with 3 counts of wire fraud. In May of 2020, Moorer filed fraudulent applications for pandemic unemployment assistance despite being employed by the federal government. Cubs beat the Reds 3-2 for their 7th straight victory. Sox fell to the Angels 4-3. The news, a service of American Beam and Steel, structural repair license contractors for your home and business. Search American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark, at American Beam and Steel. A check of the roads in 2 minutes on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher shares a scary stat.
74% of Americans, including 91% of Republicans and 70% of independents, say the U.S. is winning against Iran. Do you want to know what percentage of Democrats side with Iran? 40%. Nearly half of Democrats are cheering for Iran. Let that sink in.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Our founders believed that freedom wasn't just a word. It was a way of life. The freedom to move, the freedom to pursue what matters most, the freedom to live fully. But pain has a way of taking those freedoms from us. That's why Relief Factor exists. My pain had become so bad years ago that I couldn't paint, I couldn't work, I couldn't sleep. I was barely holding on. I was losing hope until my wife forced me to try Relief Factor. I didn't think it would work because it's 100% natural, drug-free, blah, blah, blah. But it absolutely broke the back of my pain. It might work for you. Over 1 million Americans have found relief and reclaimed parts of their life they thought were behind them. So this year, as we celebrate 250 years of freedom, ask yourself the simple question: are you living with the freedom you deserve? Relief Factor gives you the opportunity to live pain-free. Get your life back, the life you'll love. Try Relief Factor today. $19.95, 3-week quick start. Ready for you now. ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. 800-4-RELIEF.
Picture warm Gulf breezes, turquoise waters, white sand beaches. Now, at Evenings of Conversation with Salem Media's Mike Gallagher, Scott Jennings, Larry O'Connor, and Jennifer Horn. This November, sail from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Mexico on a 7-day journey built for those who love this country. Book your cabin today when you text the word cruise to 94878. Celebrate America's 250th anniversary the right way on the Gulf of America Cruise. Book your cabin now. Text the word cruise to 94878.
Feel like you're trying to push a boulder uphill wearing skates? If you run or manage a local business today, you're challenged like never before. We get it, and we want to help. We're Salem Surround. We're a full-service marketing agency that'll help you increase your customer base by designing incredibly effective plans to reach your consumers day, night, and everywhere they might be.
Salem Surround. Meet with a digital marketer today for ideas that will make your business stand out. Visit salemsurround.com.
6:06. In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, an accident reported, left lane blocked, outbound on the Kennedy at Sayre. Already this morning, stop-and-go traffic on the Stevenson inbound, First Avenue into Kedzie. You've got Stevenson roadwork causing problems and delays outbound between Damon and Pulaski. Tri-State stop-and-go traffic northbound right at Cermak Road. Traffic, a service of the AM 560 Advantage, where membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets and special members-only content. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now a check of your weather forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect a mix of clouds and sunshine with a chance of a shower in the area this afternoon. The high will reach 61 degrees. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a chance of a shower in spots, and the low will be around 44 degrees. Tomorrow, anticipate variable cloud cover with a few showers possible, and temperatures will climb to a high of 63 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Catarina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft. I did want to update the story I brought you earlier this week that I still don't think is getting very much attention. It's the story of this 12-year-old boy with Down syndrome who was attacked on a school bus. He goes to a Redling Middle School in St. Charles, District 303. And I don't know if there is a video of this account, as some have suggested when we previously talked about it the other day. So what happened is this boy was dropped off by the bus to his house. Mom knew the bus was late before he got dropped off. The school called with a very generic message. No indication that he'd been attacked. Not just once, but a second one that occurred within the 20-minute time frame that he was on the bus. The total amount of times he was stabbed by a girl who apparently, reportedly, based on the information I have, is identifying as a boy. The young man, the 12-year-old boy with Down syndrome, total stabs 13 times with a pencil. Were done with force from a kid boiling over with anger and couldn't regulate her anger. His jacket had 4 deep puncture holes, and his backpack also had holes. Thankfully, he was wearing a very padded coat. The only way that this was made aware, how this was communicated to Mom, as I understand it, was that police showed up at her door to take a report from her son. Police were called to the scene, reportedly. Kids removed from the bus, placed on another bus. And yet the mom was never called. And since that time, there has not been any action taken by police, by the Kane County State's Attorney's Office, by the school that I'm aware of. And there is video. The young man asks, after the attacks, plural, I guess, asked someone to take him to the doctor in the hospital because he's rubbing his head and his arm. They didn't. They didn't even look at his wounds, apparently. St. Charles. So all those kids on the bus and their parents, nobody knows anything about this? Typical. Naturally. The word I got, in addition to a problem with leadership at District 303 in St. Charles, is the Kane County State's Attorney's officer. Kane County State Attorney's Office, that is. I think what's her name? Jamie Mosser? Yeah, Jamie Mosser, the Kane County State's Attorney. Uh-huh. Now, remember, this happened a month ago. No reporting, no action, no nothing. I guess, I would, if mom has the video, I would encourage her to post it. You don't want to exploit your kid, and maybe that's why she isn't, and I can understand that. But it's the only way you get attention now. You have to have a video that goes viral, because I can't just communicate to you that a 12-year-old boy with Down syndrome got assaulted on a bus and school district and local authorities aren't doing a damn thing about it, and that doesn't matter. And that's not compelling enough. I can't communicate that one adult to the other and get another adult to do anything. You have to shame them into it by creating a firestorm because people share a video, and everybody then can heap their moral scorn on the school and express their outrage and so on and so forth, because, we're all grown-up infants. It's just so sickening. What the hell is wrong with people? Where to begin? Oh, by the way, as I mentioned earlier in the week, in January, this same girl apparently had stabbed several kids in the hall during a class change, and yet nothing was done then either. That's what I understand to be true from reliable sources. (312-642-5600), alphawealthgroup.com. A call and text line. The word is now Jamie Mosser. She's the Kane County State's Attorney. She's an elected official. You have an elected school board. You have taxpayer finance superintendents, principals. Anybody want to press the issue with anybody? St. Charles, Kane County? Anybody? Anybody who just have to live there. You're just generally as concerned for kids, particularly kids with disabilities being assaulted at school. I don't know. What's going on in Libertyville with the 15-year-old girl with Down syndrome who was sexually groomed by the teacher that's now been fired and got an assistant superintendent on leave? Big culture change happening in the Libertyville School District now, Libertyville High School. Community getting active and involved. No, wait for it to show up on social media so I can post something about it and then check a box. I did my part. Yeah, you're a great citizen. The state attorney's office is not going to pursue charges because criminal charges are not appropriate for mental health. Really? That's the characterization I was given. I'm sorry. I'd like a little bit more information. I'd like somebody to, it's not going to be me. She won't have to talk to me. I'd like Jamie Mosser, although I think she did oppose the Safety Act, so she's got that going for her. But she's a Democrat, because Kane County is Democrat county now. Did you know that? I mean, maybe with the exception of Chris Lausen, but that's another Collar County that's gone by the boards. It's a mental health issue. They don't know how to deal with this because it's ostensibly a middle school girl identifying as a boy. And so how do we deal with this? What do you mean, how do you deal with it? She attacked someone. Apparently she's been doing it for some time. That's what she did, if the allegations are true, is a crime. But we don't arrest 12-year-olds? Do you ever look at the police blotter in Chicago? Why? Because it's the suburbs? It's a mental health issue? I'm sorry. So which is it? Is gender dysphoria a mental health issue, or are we supposed to provide gender-affirming care? Could all these leftists that run these schools stake out a position and stick to it? And you don't get to say, not if you're a right and proper prosecutor, it's a mental health issue, so we're not going to pursue it. Has this student seen a court-appointed or in-house on contract psychiatrist? Who's informing the Kane County State's Attorney's Office that this is a mental health issue, not a criminal issue? And by the way, it can be both. Or am I going to get the Tim Evans routine? Anyone under 26 years old doesn't have the fully formed prefrontal cortex, so they're not responsible for what they do. They don't know the difference between right and wrong. If we're talking about somebody that was in the same age cohort of the boy who was attacked, 12 years old, did you know right from wrong at 12 years old? I mean, this isn't a capital case, but the idea that this isn't a law enforcement issue is absurd. And if you argue that it isn't, then you should do so publicly. Make the case. Transparency and accountability. Oh, right. I know, they're great words. They look great on a website. They look great on a walk card. They sound great when you're speechifying. And then when the rubber meets the road in cases like this, where's the transparency and accountability I heard so much about? Nothing motivates these suburbanites, you suburbanites listening, or at least your friends, does it? I mean, they can liquidate your home. They can violate your kids, and you do nothing. It's astounding to watch. And then you mau people who leave the state. Because they don't want to, be dragged into this morass of depravity. Joe in Naperville.
Yeah, I've worked in the school systems for a number of years. I have family that work in there. And, Dan, this is just the tip of the iceberg. These kids get labeled an IUP with a behavior disorder, and there's nothing they could do wrong that's going to have a consequence. They could assault other children. They could throw desks, and they do these things. And what's the answer for the school? Oh, we have to clear out the classroom for these people. These behaviors get out of hand. The police are never called, even though it's an assault. And God forbid, these kids are going to grow up to be adults one day that are going to have no consequences for their actions. It's got to stop. This is going to be a powder keg.
Thanks for the call, Joe. Yeah, it's a battery. They're not. Yeah, they're going to age, but they're not going to grow up, just like the generation before them. Not all of it, of course, but a significant percentage. An even more significant percentage that turned out to then be placed in charge of what used to be considered important institutions like, I don't know, K through 12 education. They're going to age, but they're not going to grow up. Chris and Carrie.
Hey, kind of piggybacking off that last caller.
out here in these suburbs, these leafy suburbs, you cannot physically remove a kid from a classroom. You got to remove all the other students so they stop learning. And that kid will continue to tear apart that classroom until he's done. And when he's calmed down, then they take him to the principal's office where he can color and play on an iPad until he's evaluated. But nothing ever happens.
Thanks for the call, Chris. Well, yeah. Mom, I know Mom is in a tricky spot in this case. I'm not, opining on her decision. This is where you rely on those people that have authority to exercise it judiciously. But that's another thing, of course, that doesn't happen. I've been talking about this for eons. We don't have critical thinking skills. We have policies and procedures manuals. And if it's not in the manual, I don't know what to do. I'm certainly not going to risk making an informed decision because that could expose me to repercussions. It's not in the policies and procedures manual. The last thing I'm allowed to do is think for myself. I'm not supposed to be a problem solver. I'm supposed to be a tool of implementation for the policies and procedures in the manual. That's why you hire the consultant to write it. I found this to be an interesting contrast, thinking about the state of these institutions. Clarence Thomas just became the second longest serving Supreme Court justice. And so there's sort of a revisiting of his life going on in some quarters that have a fondness for Clarence Thomas, and that would include me. I think the longest serving Supreme Court justice was William O. Douglas. Just as an aside, it just popped into my head. Anyway, Neil Gorsuch, who's got a new book out about the founders, had this to say about Thomas on Fox the other day.
I adore that man. He is a great student and scholar of the Constitution. The ideas that we discuss in this book and try and introduce to children are things he feels incredibly passionate about. He also has maybe the best laugh of anyone I know, a great booming laugh that echoes through the court all the time. People in the court, he knows everybody's name. He's a man of great and deep faith. And he has lived the American story, the American dream. And if anybody wants to know more about Clarence Thomas, I just cannot recommend his book, My Grandfather's Son, enough.
All right.
Yes, I agree with that. And here is an anecdote from My Grandfather's Son, as told by Clarence Thomas in the documentary that the book, the autobiography, spawned, about education. Getting back on point here, too. This was just a long way around this point I wanted to make about Clarence Thomas's upbringing, my grandfather's son, in the Jim Crow South.
Remember now, I'm 7 years old. My brother is 6. And he says to us, you are going to go to school every day. And if you are sick, you're still going. And if you die, you will go, I will take your body for 3 days to make sure you're not faking it. And he meant it. I mean, the thing about it is, it's one thing if somebody says it and you think they're exaggerating. He wasn't that kind of guy. The Catholic schools were very orderly. My brother used to say, when you walked in there, you could hear a gnat tiptoeing across cotton. It was segregated. The nuns didn't much appreciate the fact that blacks were treated that way. They were mostly Irish nuns, and they were outspoken too. Oh, God, I love it. They were on our side from day one.
So remember that anecdote when for people who want to just trash the Catholic Church writ large, baby with the bathwater sort of attacks. That was 70 years ago. Clarence Thomas is 77. Are the teachers and administrators on the sides of the kids today in this advanced civilization in which we live today? Not in St. Charles, they're not. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Let Cole Digital turn your outdoor space into the ultimate entertainment setup. With a 75-inch SunBright outdoor TV that can stay out year-round and great sound throughout. Like planter speakers on the patio, high-quality rock speakers that blend right into your landscape, or bronze garden speakers that blend into the environment. Our technicians will dig a hole and install an in-ground subwoofer for incredible bass and the best in sound quality. We also install outdoor-rated access points for Wi-Fi coverage throughout your yard, and cameras that let you keep an eye on everything with motion-activated recording. Tour our Cole Digital Design Center, 15,000 square feet of audio, video, and great design ideas. Cole Digital is family-owned by conservatives that share your values, and we're based right in Frankfurt. Visit Cole Digital today and schedule your consultation. ColeDigital.com. That's KOLE Digital.com. Or call 815-469-2000, and we'll bring the showroom to you. 815-469-2000. Cole Digital, what smart living is all about.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
You know what really keeps me up at night? It's the criminals feel more and more bold. They have no fear of any consequences because there are none. So I did what anyone with a family should do. I called Goldilocks. They're not just some cookie-cutter security company. Goldilocks has been protecting Chicagoland homes and businesses for 4 decades, 40 years. And they actually listen. Their technician comes out to the house. He takes a look at what you need to make your house a smart home with a security system you can monitor from anywhere. It's built specifically for me and my family. Motion sensors, smart locks, cameras, monitoring, all customized. I don't trust anybody in Illinois to protect my family. I do it, and I did it by calling Goldilocks. I trust Goldilocks to keep my house, my property, and my family safe. Tell them Sean Thompson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months free monitoring with any new installation. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
This is interesting. I got a text from 630. I'm a teacher in St. Charles. Keep digging. Keep digging, huh? Well, how about you help us dig, but or point us in the direction in which to dig? But that's interesting. There's a lot more there than just what I've reported. I'm sure there is. Obviously, these stories are representations of something bigger that is going on or not going on in that school. That's always the case. Rarely one-offs, indicative of a culture. Coming up at 6:36, we will get to that L.A. mayor's debate because Spencer Pratt made it entertaining. And we'll pour over that and also the prospect of memorandum of understanding to end the hostilities in Iran. We'll do that with National Review's Rich Lowry at 6:36. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
37 degrees at O'Hare. At DuPage Airport this morning, 32 degrees. I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom, and a frost advisory is in effect for the far western suburbs. Iran has said it is reviewing the new U.S. proposals to end the war as U.S. President Donald Trump threatens more bombing if no deal is reached. World shares have advanced. Tokyo's Nikkei up nearly 6%, the price of Brent crude hovering at about $100 a barrel this morning. Polls opening for midterm local and regional elections that will significantly impact British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Starmer's Labour Party is bracing for major losses in elections across England, Scotland, and Wales. Secretary of State Marco Rubio meeting with Pope Leo at the Vatican today. President Trump was asked what message he wants Secretary of State Rubio to give Pope Leo.
It's very simple. Whether I make him happy or I don't make him happy, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And he seemed to be saying that they can. And I say they cannot. Because if that happened, the entire world would be hostage, and we're not going to let that happen.
The meeting comes after earlier encounters between the two and follows recent political tensions between the president and the Pope. Two teens are charged after a resource officer lost his gun at an Arlington Heights school. Arlington Heights police officer assigned to the Forest View Education Center reported his service weapon missing after removing it from his holster while using the restroom on Monday. Detectives later determined that 18-year-old student Juan Pablo Sanchez took the unattended firearm from the restroom. Shortly thereafter, he gave that weapon to a 17-year-old in a neighboring community. In Springfield, the Illinois Revenue Alliance and Democrat lawmakers discuss new tax initiatives that they want passed to increase revenue for the state. Among the proposals is a much-debated wealth tax. Republican senators, including Minority Leader John Curran, say the proposal is just the wrong answer.
More taxes on job creators is not going to grow the Illinois economy.
And a woman from West Michigan flew to Midway Airport amid a manic episode and is now missing here in Chicago. Kelly Duke is believed to be last seen at Midway Monday evening after getting on a Southwest flight from Grand Rapids. She has bipolar disorder and a history of going on long drives amid manic episodes. The news is a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device. Download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile. A check of the roads in 2 minutes on AM 560.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Liberty Cigar Company.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
Each morning, the newsmakers and the newsbreakers shaping today's conversation are heard on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line on Chicago's Morning Answer. When you need answers about what's happening in your world, you turn to AM 560 The Answer. And when you need answers about how to prepare for and protect your retirement, you turn to the Alpha Wealth Group, now the proud sponsor of the AM 560 Answer Line, right here on Chicago's source for news, opinion, and insight. AM 560 The Answer.
Hey, I'm Kirk Cameron. Is health insurance eating up your budget for 2026? If you're looking for ways to better steward your finances, consider this: Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's a health insurance alternative at half the cost. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. While insurance companies tell you when to join, what to pay, and where to go, CHM is different. As a ministry, CHM allows you to share the burden of medical bills with other Christians. You can enroll, switch programs, or leave at any time. Christian Healthcare Ministries. It's a world of difference. CHM has 4 flexible programs. You can pick any certified doctor, surgeon, or hospital that you want for eligible care. So make the switch. Take your paycheck back from health insurance this year. Join CHM today by visiting chministries.org/wellness. That's chministries.org/wellness.
Amazon Business. Unlock smart business buying with fast, free delivery on millions of items and practical AI innovations that automate repetitive tasks. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
6:36. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Northwest Indiana, I-65 vehicle fire on the right shoulder, southbound 65 just before US 30. On the Reagan this morning, eastbound, you're jammed up York to the Tri-State. Typical morning heavy. Outbound Stevenson jammed up in the construction zone between the Dan Ryan and Pulaski, and they've relocated an accident on the Kennedy outbound between Montrose and Sayre, just to the top of Sayre Avenue this morning. Traffic, a service of Capital One. Earn unlimited double miles on every purchase with the Capital One Venture X business card. Big purchasing power means you can spend more and earn more. The Capital One Venture X business card. What's in your wallet? See CapitalOne.com for details. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Weather check of your weather forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. Clouds and sun with a shower in the area this afternoon. A high of 58.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft, and do we see a little light? Bob Mould reference there. Perfect bumper music choice. Do we see a little light in L.A.? Do we see a little light in a big blue city? That there will be a lurch towards sanity. There was a mayoral debate, and Spencer Pratt is quickly making that race the most interesting one, perhaps this cycle. If he makes the runoff, this goes to November, it will be probably the most interesting race this cycle, just for the jingles and the Karen Basura Bass moniker alone. They had this exchange about homelessness and the approach that his two opponents, Pratt, talking about his two opponents, the approach that they take. One's the mayor, Karen Basura Bass, and the other is a city council human. Who, by the way, the city council human, she deserves more scrutiny. Good grief. I mean, Karen Bass is like a communist, and this Rahman woman, I think, is still trying to get to her left somehow, as only somebody with degrees from Harvard and MIT could do. Now, they're not serious degrees. One's in political theory, and the other was a master's in urban planning from MIT. How's that being applied? Oh, man. All right, back to the homeless exchange. This really builds on one of the viral videos of late from Pratt, where he talks about this contractor that got $16 million to build to basically set up 64 beds for homeless people. $250,000 a bed. What are we doing?
Robin acts like she doesn't have any authority with this homelessness. She was the third most powerful person in city council. She runs the homeless housing thing. She acts like this is just Mayor Bass. First off, inside safe. I like to say inside safe makes all of us outside unsafe. The reality is no matter how many beds you give these people, they are on super meth. They are on fentanyl. The DEA statistic says 93% of this is a drug addiction problem. Nithya, Councilwoman Robin's plan for treatment first. I will go below the Harbor Freeway tomorrow with her, and we can find some of these people she's going to offer treatment for. She's going to get stabbed in the neck. These people do not want a bed. They want fentanyl or super meth. These ideas cost us over $400 million to house for 3,000 people for $400 million. This is an absolute failure for both of them. They're a team.
So, Councilmember Rahman, you have 30 seconds to respond.
I want to just say to everybody who's watching today, you're going to watch today as Mayor Bass and Spencer Pratt attack me because they want to run against each other in the general election. Each of them thinks that running against each other is what's going to help them win. And they don't want to run against me because my ideas, which are based on real results in my district, which are based on real data, a real analysis of the system, and a focus on accountability and using every dollar as effectively as possible, which we have done in my district. I want to take this citywide. This is why this is happening today.
Councilmember Rahman, we're out of time. I'm going to give each of you 30 seconds to respond to this. Mr. Pratt, I'm going to start with you, and then I'm going to go to Mayor Bass.
First off, Mayor Bass and I are definitely not working together. I blame this person for burning my house and my parents' house and my town and all my neighbors down. I am not working with Mayor Bass. Second off, if I wanted to run against anybody, it would be the council member who is terrible. Mayor Bass has at least been a mayor for almost 4 years and has, as she talked about earlier, all the unions endorsed Mayor Bass. You think it's easier to run against the incumbent mayor with all the unions or a random city council member who's been a failure for 6 years? I would much rather run against Councilwoman Rahman. Thank you.
That's pretty good. That's pretty fun. By the way, Nithya Rahman, just to give you a sense of what we're talking about here, this is not unique to a leftist like her, but again, it's the sort of ideas that could only incubate at a place like Harvard. Talking at a community meeting about the incidence of thefts, particularly thefts of Toyota Priuses. And whose fault is that? You guessed it, Toyota.
In this case, I think one of the things that really infuriates me is that we have a company, Toyota, who makes the Prius, that essentially has a device on their cars, which is super easy to remove. It's basically the value of a MacBook, right? That is put in a place that is incredibly easy to access in your car. And then the thefts related to this issue have essentially all of the costs of that are given to us to bear instead of them having to manufacture a car that actually is not so easy to be stolen. I think it's outrageous. Our police department is dealing with it. Our residents are dealing with it.
That is nuts.
Yeah, that is nuts.
You don't access it, you steal it.
See, there are a few sane people left in L.A. By the way, just a point of order for those who are not gearheads. The catalytic converter, this is from a gearhead friend of mine. I'm not either. The catalytic converter is welded in place underneath the car, and you need a cordless reciprocating saw to hack it off. It's a medieval process. But that Toyota, if only they would listen to the MIT grad with the master's in urban planning rather than their engineers over there at Toyota. For more on all this, please be joined by Rich Lowry, editor of National Review, author of The Case for Nationalism, How It Made Us Powerful, United, and Free. Rich, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Spencer Pratt is at least making the a big city mayor's race entertaining, a lot more entertaining than, say, New York's or Chicago's of late.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it shows what you can do if you're articulate, a little bit funny, and are willing to speak common sense in stark terms. So it's been great. The stab in the neck exchange in the debate was an instantly classic moment.
Yes.
And look, it's possible
Very graphic.
It's possible for insane blue cities to do better when people just find the level of disorder and crime intolerable. We've seen San Francisco finally crack down on car thefts, not stealing the cars, but breaking the windows and stealing everything in the cars, which was an epidemic that seemed unstoppable. And then you know what they started to do? They started to arrest the people doing it. And it's plummeted. Baltimore, murders are at maybe a historic low. In Baltimore, same thing. And all these places, it tends to be a small group of repeat offenders known to everyone and to authorities. And the question is whether you have the will to do anything about it and go lock them up. And when you do, your city gets better. If you don't, it's a debacle.
Yeah, I also did enjoy when her response to the homeless thing was not to address that, but to, they're collaborating against me because nobody wants to run against me. And it's like, look, I blame Karen Bass for burning down my house, so I'm not working with her. It's pretty stark.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you, if you're a candidate, feel compelled to respond to the substance of a charge if someone say you're going to get stabbed in the neck under a freeway?
Yeah.
Just let that go.
Right. Well, you know what the thing about Pratt is, and it's relatively unusual. It also is the appeal of Trump. He is a street fighter going up against cake eaters who have been insulated from competition. And it's usually the other way around. It's usually, the conservative or the Republican who is a bit defenseless in a street fight. But it's the opposite here in L.A. Rich, did we lose Rich?
Sorry about that. Her line, though, and her line in response to the stab in the neck thing about who you'd prefer to run against, that clearly is rehearsed, right? That's something that she had packaged beforehand. So it shows she can't react in the moment, and so totally agree with you.
So let's talk a little bit about Iran with the reporting that there is an MOU that may be inked in the next 24 to 48 hours. And if not, then perhaps the bombings will resume. Trump sort of reintroduced the possibility of that if Iran continues to be obstreperous. But what is your perspective on where things stand and how the president has managed this campaign over the last 60 days?
It's so hard to know where they stand, right? Because we could really be on the cusp of a deal, or the Iranians could be playing us, or the president could be overly optimistic, or some combination of all those things. So I think if we got a deal along the lines of what's been reported, I think it'd be pretty good. He'll be open to the charge. It's like a JCPOA type agreement, which it is, but you have layered on top of it this massive destruction of Iran's military power and industrial capacity. So it'll take them years and years to recover. So would I prefer if they just gave everything up and handed over all the uranium? And that, by the way, is a huge question. Officials have said, we think we can get them to hand over the uranium, but it's not clear whether they will. But I think if they did that would be a clear victory. But I think we couldn't be in a place where this is a net benefit to U.S. national security. But, the costs have been pretty high, and I'm not sure the president would go about it on the same timing or in the same way, knowing what he knows now. But that often happens in military operations. You don't fully learn how it's going to go until it's happened. And clearly the closing the Strait of Hormuz, they did it in a way we hadn't really envisioned. It wasn't their Navy, blockading the strait. Their Navy's on the bottom of the sea. It's just the threat of an occasional fast boat or a drone has stopped almost every tanker from transiting.
You wrote about this too. I mean, part of the discussion, of course, is about energy and prices at the pump. That's dominated the discussion here because that's one of the angles the DC press corps wants to take to be a wet blanket on this campaign. But the other thing, but the flip side of that is to say Trump's push both in his first term and reinvigorated in his second term for American energy independence proved to be precisely the right policy.
Yeah, it's been a brilliant policy. It's been a national success. I think drill, baby, drill is the biggest public policy success in the United States in the last 15 years. Now, it doesn't make us immune to what's going on in the Strait because there is a global market for crude, and that's why there's a 4 on the front of the price of gas at most gas stations, which is higher than it was and it isn't great and does put pressure on us. But if you look at, say, liquefied natural gas, 20% of the supply has been cut off because the Strait is effectively closed, and the price has gone down in the United States. The price in West Texas at the moment is negative. They're paying people to come take it away because all the pipelines are full. Whereas in Asia and Europe, it's up 80% or more than 100%. So that's clearly buffered from some of this turmoil, and just it's such a better place than we were in the 1970s when what was happening with Middle Eastern oil could literally bring our economy and a presidency to its knees.
Well, it also, I mean, this is always a dynamic, but since this is a topic of discussion, going back to California and the governor's race there, something Steve Hilton said in the CNN debate the other night, which I think needs to be said more often by Republicans in failed states like California, Illinois, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, et cetera, which is, but you all this time spent blaming Trump, but here in California, the number at the pump starts with a 7 or an 8,
6 or 7,
6 or 7,
yeah.
and he's the president of the entire country. So there's something going on in California that isn't going on in the rest of the country. What is that? To focus people locally and get them off the just everything in the world that I don't like is Trump's fault.
Yeah, and this is a big problem Gavin Newsom's going to have when and if he runs. Every single thing that you have to pay for that people care about, whether it's housing or whether it's energy or whatever, has gone up in California radically because of their failed policies.
I'm going to get your take, too, on the Indiana primary election on Tuesday. There has been some hand-wringing about the primary upsets I don't know if there were upsets, but the primary involvement of Trump, those state senators who voted against remapping Indiana the way that other states are remapping in earnest these days. And but Karl Rove, Wall Street Journal editorial page, didn't like it, hollow victory, and those sorts of characterizations. What was your take on that reckoning that was delivered for those senators who didn't go along with putting in the fight in the remapping space?
Yeah, so my understanding is that those senators were reluctant to do the redistricting because people in their district didn't want to grab parts of Indianapolis and have Indianapolis part of their suburban districts because they left Indianapolis for a reason. But it caused great anger among Republicans because what did they do in Virginia? They did exactly the same thing. They kind of in reverse. They divided up all of Northern Virginia and then stretched it down, 100 miles into the rest of Virginia to create all these Democratic districts. And it just shows the power of Trump, and there's talk that he's going to be a lame duck, or people even said after the 2024 election, he'll be an instant lame duck because he won't be able to run again. He's going to be 90 years old on a rocking chair in Mar-a-Lago and not be a lame duck in the sense of not having influence over this party. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's like nothing we've ever seen. Ronald Reagan never could do this, or maybe he didn't want to do it, but I'm not sure if he could have if he wanted. George W. Bush never could do it. Just the grip that he has on the party and on its voters, and that's the ultimate source of it, but the grip he has on the voters is unbelievable.
Rich Lowry, editor of National Review, author of The Case for Nationalism, How It Made Us Powerful, United, and Free. Rich, thank you as always.
Hey, thanks for having me. Talk soon.
And he joined us on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Business owners, now's the time for your business to make the move to a locally owned business bank. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that you don't have to look far. Signature Bank was founded in Chicago with a simple mission to help companies like yours grow, succeed, and thrive. Their decisions are made locally by a terrific team that knows your name, cares about your business, and invests in your success. That's why Signature Bank bank is my bank. I'm a customer. As business owners, they knew that local family-owned businesses were not getting the help they needed or deserved. So I invite you to reach out to my friends at Signature Bank today. Write the number down. Remember this phone number, Signature Bank, 773-467-5630, and learn all about this great bank, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
If you're living with joint pain, listen up. I want you to try something different. You don't have to live in pain every day. You need to have a conversation with my friends at QC Kinetics. Tell them I sent you when you do. They offer all-natural regenerative treatments for joint pain. I've seen the results and recommend Dr. Caravelli and her team. So stop saying to yourself, this is just how I am now. That's not okay. Get back to the normal you, the one who was active and carefree. QC Kinetics is helping AM 560 listeners with pain from arthritis or injury in their knees, their hips, their shoulders. Now they're moving again, golfing and running without surgery or long recovery. The science is real. The treatments are natural. Your body knows how to heal. QC Kinetics will show you how without surgery. So don't watch summer pass you by again, stuck on your couch, afraid to move. Take action today. Schedule an appointment right now. Consultations are free. You call 312-827-6261 to schedule that consultation. Again, the number 312-827-6261. Once more, call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
Welcome back to Ask Hassellus.
Have you seen my husband?
No.
He's hot.
I'm sorry to hear that.
What?
Good news. Hassellus Mattress is home to a variety of cool gel mattresses, including Tempur-Pedic.
Okay, but...
And right now, get 48 months interest-free financing on Tempur-Pedic with approved credit. Plus, free next-day delivery and setup, free removal of your old mattress, and a $300 MasterCard gift card with your new Tempur-Pedic.
Wow, that's pretty hot.
Find an employee-free showroom near you at hassellus.com.
You smell that? Spring. Hibernation's over. It's time to run it. Run it until the grass becomes long and the hedges duck and cover. Then, run it again. Still, get up to $50 off select AK battery tool sets. Offer valid for limited time only at participating dealers while supplies last.
Picture warm Gulf breezes, turquoise waters, white sand beaches. Now, at Evenings of Conversation with Salem Media's Mike Gallagher, Scott Jennings, Larry O'Connor, and Jennifer Horn. This November, sail from Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and Mexico on a 7-day journey built for those who love this country. Book your cabin today when you text the word cruise to 94878. Celebrate America's 250th anniversary the right way on the Gulf of America Cruise. Book your cabin now. Text the word cruise to 94878.
Parents, what your children are being taught matters more than ever. At Christian Liberty Academy in Arlington Heights, we've been equipping students with a solid, Christ-centered education for over 55 years. Our on-campus school and our homeschool program give families across the nation a proven alternative. Don't wait. Take action for your child's future today. Visit ChristianLiberty.com to learn more or schedule a tour. ChristianLiberty.com.
Scott Jennings fearlessly fights back against the mainstream media on the Scott Jennings podcast.
When Republicans have even a whiff of scandal, what do we hear? Resign, step down, zero tolerance. Where is the Democratic Party? Where is the outrage? Where is the moral clarity? What do we hear from cable news? Nothing.
Subscribe for free today on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or SalemPodcastNetwork.com. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up at 7:07, we're going to talk to our friend Brian Westbury, chief economist at First Trust. We'll talk about, what you would expect, matters, dollars and cents, economic outlook. That's 7:07, Brian Westbury. It's now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Will Iran agree?
I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. We're still waiting for a response to a U.S. proposal to end the conflict.
We're doing well. Now we have to get what we have to get. If we don't do that, we'll have to go a big step further.
President Trump has threatened the bombing could resume as a blockade continues around Iran's ports. As for what the U.S. wants, Fox's Peter Doocy reports from the White House.
Iran would commit to not develop a nuclear weapon. Iran would temporarily pause uranium enrichment. There would be enhanced nuclear inspections, the possible removal of the uranium stockpile. That's the nuclear dust the president talks about. The U.S. would release frozen funds and lift sanctions gradually on Iran. And there would be a 30-day window for full nuclear deal negotiations. Now, remember, the president and his team are longtime critics of the Obama nuclear deal, and they insist this morning this is not that.
Well, it's going to be inspect and verify. There will be no trust involved.
That's U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz. Weeks after President Trump was critical of Pope Leo over his criticism of the Iran conflict, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is at the Vatican this morning holding one-on-one talks with the Pope.
But the Secretary of State denies that's the main purpose of the visit, speaking here Tuesday.
No, look, there's a lot to talk about with the Vatican. I'll give you one example. The Pope just returned from a trip to Africa, where the church is growing very vibrantly, and we have shared concerns about religious freedom.
Secretary Rubio also says Cuba's future is on the agenda. He'll meet too with Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. They made an arrest in Sunday night's mass shooting at a lake party in Oklahoma that left one woman dead, 22 other people injured, but they're still looking for other gunmen.
Detectives believe this incident began with a disturbance between two females attending the gathering that escalated into an altercation between rival gang members.
Edmond Police Chief J.D. Younger. They're doing searches in several Mississippi counties looking for anyone needing rescue from the rubble of the damage tornadoes did. America's listening to Fox News. 37 degrees in Chicago. On AM 560, The Answer, I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Family and friends will gather today remembering the Chicago police officer who was shot and killed last month at a Northside hospital. Visitation for Officer John Bartholomew will be held from 2 to 8 p.m. at St. Andrew's Greek Orthodox Church in Chicago. Des Plaines officials say 15 were hurt after an explosion and huge apartment building fire. 3 victims remain in critical condition. This morning, the cause is under investigation. Mayor Brandon Johnson still trying to convince lawmakers that Chicago is the best place for the Bears. He went to Springfield yesterday to lobby against the so-called mega projects bill. The mayor also urged lawmakers to increase the city's share of state revenue and advance other taxing authorities.
Local municipalities have had to bear the brunt of federal attack, and it's imperative in this moment that we remain united.
Johnson was not alone in his request for local municipalities. Republican State Representative Jennifer Sanilitro.
The governor wanting to cut these LGDF funds from local governments will make it harder for communities to manage costs and potentially force them to raise property taxes.
Some 1,500 Foxconn workers at the company's Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin campus say a major network outage has brought production to a standstill and left employees without answers or jobs for days. Speculation of a major cybersecurity incident is growing. Foxconn has dealt previously with ransomware at Mexican facilities. Cubs beat the Reds 3-2 for their 7th straight win. Sox fall to the Angels 4-3. The news, a service of American Beam and Steel, structural repair licensed contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark, at American Beam and Steel. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560.
Alex Marlow explains the end goal.
People are starting to finally get the message that I've been bringing to you on this show from day one, which is that so long as Iran intends to pursue nuclear weapons, that is an imminent threat to the United States of America, and we cannot allow for that to happen. We need to lock in the full and total destruction of Iran's nuclear capabilities, and then things will go back to creating the golden era.
The Alex Marlow Show. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Our founders believed that freedom wasn't just a word. It was a way of life. The freedom to move, the freedom to pursue what matters most, the freedom to live fully. But pain has a way of taking those freedoms from us. That's why Relief Factor exists. My pain had become so bad years ago that I couldn't paint, I couldn't work, I couldn't sleep. I was barely holding on. I was losing hope until my wife forced me to try Relief Factor. I didn't think it would work because it's 100% natural, drug-free, blah, blah, blah. But it absolutely broke the back of my pain. It might work for you. Over 1 million Americans have found relief and reclaimed parts of their life they thought were behind them. So this year, as we celebrate 250 years of freedom, ask yourself the simple question: are you living with the freedom you deserve? Relief Factor gives you the opportunity to live pain-free. Get your life back, the life you'll love. Try Relief Factor today. $19.95, 3-week quick start. Ready for you now. ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. 800-4-RELIEF.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
7:06, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. A service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performing digital solutions to surround your target audience. Go to surroundchicago.com today. They've cleaned up a vehicle fire in northwest Indiana on I-65 southbound just before US 30. Delays remain. Route 53 jamming up northbound between the Adams Toll Road and Kirchhoff, all due to road work this morning. DuSable Lakeshore Drive continues to be a trouble spot northbound between Bryn Mawr and Hollywood. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But now a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect a mix of clouds and sunshine with a chance of a shower in the area this afternoon. The high will reach 61 degrees. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a chance of a shower in spots, and the low will be around 44 degrees. Tomorrow, anticipate variable cloud cover with a few showers possible, and temperatures will climb to a high of 63 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and we talked about this a bit yesterday, but I want to get our next guest's view on the import of it. Ken Griffin's response to Zohran Mamdani, the commie mayor of New York City, drew a response from Mamdani yesterday. Response to the response to the response. Started with the video where Mamdani specifically targeted Griffin's penthouse in New York City as illustrative of the tax system being unfair, and thus the need for a pied-à-terre tax for people who have property in New York City above, I think it was 5 million, but who don't live in New York City. And his response to what you'll hear from Griffin again was basically like, oh, you know, he's an important employer, but the tax system is unfair. Because that's what they always say. What's fair? More. Always more. Something new, a new tax, and more of an existing tax. And it's just, it's not fair, so go along with the program. That's the mantra of the left. But here was Griffin responding to the call out by Mamdani, this at the Milken Institute confab.
So where does that leave us at 350 Park?
That leaves us with the fact that we went to Miami and revised our building plan to make it a bigger office building.
You're bailing?
So what do we do at 350 is still a point of discussion internally. But what is no longer a point of discussion is that Miami is now, when we moved from Chicago, there was a debate between New York and Miami. It's unquestionably true that we made the right choice. I'll leave it at that. It's unquestionably true that we made the right choice. And now what the mayor of New York has made clear to my partners, and principally my New York partners, is that we need to double down on our bet in Miami, because we want to be in a state that embraces business, that embraces education, that embraces personal freedom and liberty, and that embraces people having an opportunity to live the American dream.
And that's not New York or Illinois. I had a discussion with some friends at dinner yesterday who are in the development business. The 350 Park is probably going to go forward because they're too far along. But one of the points that was made, which is a good insight, is even if that goes forward, what do you think his mind's eye toward New York City is going forward, as long as this is the political power structure and these are going to be the policies and the approach to those policies? And what do you think the guy on the sidelines that's looking at the same thing Griffin was looking at, sort of investment and development opportunities, is thinking about New York after witnessing this? Just as people on the outside looking in at Chicago, what do you think they're thinking? Well, I can tell you the absence of tower cranes in the city should tell you what they're thinking. For more on this and other matters, please be joined by Brian Westbury, Chief Economist at First Trust Portfolios, LP. Brian, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan, great to be with you.
Your reaction to this contretemps between Griffin and Mamdani?
Yeah, it's happening everywhere. Washington State, Oregon, California, Colorado, all of them want to put taxes on high-income earners. This inequality debate has taken off like more than maybe since the 1930s. I mean, we've had experiments with socialism and communism in the United States before, but this is something special. It's amazing to me, and I think and I'm sure some of your listeners know, I have been criticizing the Federal Reserve for making this battle even worse. So if we go back to 2008 and the great financial crisis, this is when Ben Bernanke invented quantitative easing, which basically means we're going to flood the system with new money. And we have tripled the money supply since 2008 in the United States. If you have a $100 bill in your wallet, 67 of those dollars were created in the last 18 years. The other 33 in the previous century or more. That's how much money we printed. And so if you think about what happens is, if you have assets, if you own a home, if you own a business, if you have investments and you triple the money supply, you win. But if you don't have assets, if you're young, let's say, you just haven't saved, you haven't bought a house yet, and I know there's affordability and all that. Let's leave that aside. You just haven't saved. You haven't bought a home. But you're paying now, because of the inflation that money printing caused, you're paying more for goods. Your income might have gone up a little bit, but you basically lost. And so this policy by the Federal Reserve has pitted Gen Z against the baby boomers. I talked to Gen Zers. Some get it. Some just hate the baby boomers. And 75% of 18 to 29-year-olds voted for Mamdani in New York, because they believe that this inequality that we face today is they think it's caused by capitalism, but it's not. It's caused by the Federal Reserve. And so I take a couple of things out of this, and I'll shut up. But number one, this policy by the Fed in the last 18 years has created more inequality in America than any other policy in our history. And the second thing is Jerome Powell and other Fed pretenders are running around going, leave us alone. We're independent. You can't, politicians need to leave the Fed alone. And what I would argue is that the Fed completely changed the political landscape in America. The politicians should be after them because they have affected elections. They have affected the way one generation feels about another. They've increased inequality. The Fed is the one that changed the political environment. No wonder politicians are going after them.
Well, but the flip side, the politicians are a little bit hypocritical, too, because most of them are on board with and have been on board with quantitative easing. Most of them, including the president, actually, whether they understand it or not, favor the weak dollar. I mean, and all by the way, most of them are on the side of winning based on the Fed policy you're describing and the winners and losers that you detailed.
Well, I'm not going to say that that's not true, but what the Fed invited by doing this, the Fed, if they wanted to truly be independent, they would have never financed COVID. If the Federal Reserve, so let's go back to 2020.
Yes, right. I mean, I agree.
And the government says to us, hey, we're going to borrow $5 trillion. And we're going to pay people to sit at home and keep their businesses closed. But we're going to have to borrow this money in the open market, in the free market. And inflation was about 2%. And I guarantee you the borrowing cost would have been somewhere between 4% and 6% bond yields. That's what they would have had to pay. Instead, the Fed lowered the interest rate to 0. The 10-year Treasury, they pulled it all the way down to 1.5. So the federal government was able to borrow $5 trillion at extremely artificially low interest rates. And so, yes, politicians may have liked that because they got to hand out all kinds of money, but the Fed should have never let that happen. And they did. And they think they saved the world, but instead they changed the political environment massively. I think this is the problem with all kinds of government policy, and that is that politicians may want to take pain away from people, but the more you try to take pain away from people, the more problems you create down the road.
I agree with you, and the piece that you wrote over at Real Clear Politics about the folly of Fed independence. Is there a more laughably dishonest statement than Jerome Powell saying that he conducted monetary policy without considering political factors? I mean, of course, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But what do you think incoming Fed Chairman Kevin Warsh thinks? Do you think he agrees with you?
Well, so he was on the Federal Reserve during the Great Financial Crisis, so he voted for the first QE. And if you kind of read, he's a politician, and this is the funny thing. Like the Fed chairman are some of the best politicians in Washington, D.C., by the way. So this idea that they're not political is ridiculous. But having said that, he what he'll say is, okay, that first round that I voted for was good, but everything else after that I disagree with. And Westbury, he's never said this, but Westbury's kind of right. This has messed things up. It created inflation. It created inequality, and so we should have never done that. And he wants to roll back the Fed's balance sheet, and some of this gets really technical, and we won't go there. But he does want to shrink that.
Yeah, but Jerome Powell said, intermittently over the course of his tenure, said the same thing, and it wasn't true. And the point you make, and to the point I was making before, that Kevin Warsh would probably say, yeah, Westbury's pretty much right. But he hasn't said that publicly. Right. And he's not going to say what you just said about the Fed publicly either, which speaks to the political culture inside the Beltway.
Yeah, exactly. You protect the institution that you're in charge of. And the reason is you like your job. And, people say, why would the Fed do this, Brian? Because I'll give a speech and explain what the Fed did. And my answer is, hey, if you were, let's say you were a financial advisor, would you rather have $800 billion under management or $8 trillion?
Right.
And that's the Fed, right? They always want a bigger balance sheet. But we've gotten to this point in this country where we think we can fix everything by just printing money and borrowing money, and we know how that ends. Like it's happened 1,000 times in the history of the world, and we know how it ends. And yet here we are doing it.
Because elected officials have abdicated their fiscal policy powers. I mean, and that includes the president, and that includes this president. I mean, there's just no interest in serious fiscal policy, minus this recent zeitgeist to interdict transfer benefits corruption, which is good. But I mean, that's not structurally changing the way the spend occurs in D.C.
No, it's not. And then just to go back to where you started with Mamdani and Griffin, like I said, 75% of the 18 to 29-year-olds in this country voted, or in New York City, voted for Mamdani. And so he feels empowered to do this. And he's now, it's FAFO, right? And Ken Griffin is pointing out the problem. If you look at migration in the United States, Washington, Oregon, California, Colorado, Illinois, everybody is losing population. Their tax bases are going down. They literally are. When they look at their budgets, legally they're supposed to have a balanced budget. They don't have one. Chicago hasn't had a balanced budget in a decade or more. Well, they did during COVID, but that was based on federal government handouts.
Well, the budgets in Chicago and Illinois are never really balanced because they never properly account for unfunded pension obligations.
Right, exactly. And so what's happened is these politicians just feel emboldened. And that's where I come back to the Fed. I get it. Politics would unfurl in certain ways, no matter what the Fed did. But I believe the inequality that this caused, that when if you're a baby boomer and you've been saving for 40 years, you're not greedy. You've been doing what you were taught, that, hey, I'm going to save and then I'm going to have money in my retirement and I can retire and not be destitute and not have to count on the government. And so you've done all the right things. Then they come in and triple the money supply and you end up getting a windfall because of this. It's hard to put into words what a tripling of the money supply is. Here's one other way I've tried to do it. Back in 2008, we had a FDIC insurance on your bank account of $250,000 a year. And so if you triple the money supply, the size of everybody's bank account, what should FDIC insurance be today? Well, it should be $750,000 an account because we've tripled the amount of money in the economy. But it's only $250. And by the way, I don't like FDIC insurance anyway. That's a whole nother debate. But what I'm getting at, that's what happened. This is why the stock market is at an all-time high. This is why we have so many billionaires in this country. Yes, they've invented beautiful things like Starlink that change the world, and AI, and I get if you get billionaires from that, that's a good thing. But we have so many because we've tripled the money supply. What should have been worth $1 in 2008 is now worth $3, and it has nothing to do with creating value. It has all to do with the fact that we flooded the system with money. And then these politicians assume, if you ask AI, what's the best system for creating wealth? It comes back, it says capitalism. But then if you ask it, what's the argument against capitalism? It says inequality. All right. That's what people believe. And there is inequality that develops because, Bill Gates or Sam Walton or Elon Musk make everybody's lives better. But there's also inequality created by fake money printing. And that's not inequality that's caused by capitalism. And I think people are confusing and conflating the two. And then these politicians, I mean, for Mamdani to go after one individual, and I get it that Elizabeth Warren goes after Elon Musk all the time. It seems to be happening more. But for him to go after one individual, I found appalling. And it should never, ever happen. But they're emboldened because they're winning elections, and it's because people are upset that the inequality has expanded so much.
Well, that's a compelling argument you make, and the concern that I have is, we're the free market types among us, and at least those politicians that sort of lean in that direction, generally speaking. We've given up the predicate argument, which is an understanding about how markets work and about what you're saying, the manipulation and the externalities it throws off. And they win the class envy argument among a certain cohort that's easy to make. They have more, you should have some of it, so we'll just take from them and give to you. Pretty straightforward. But if we don't go back to first principles here and make those cases, and starting in the godforsaken government schools, then it just becomes, okay, well, who is going to sign on to universal basic income, which we sort of de facto have now, or an enhanced UBI, or this expansion of this entitlement program, or this special deal for special people. I mean, we get into their racket of distributing the spoils of other people's labor, and then we lose. Then we're going to lose.
Yeah, exactly. I am very worried that we will not be able to turn this ship around. Reagan was able to actually reduce the size of the federal government as a share of GDP. And then his wake, if you will, his momentum was so powerful that even Bill Clinton couldn't get out of the way. He ended up reforming welfare as we know it. And I get it, Newt Gingrich. I'm not trying to be perfect historian here, but Newt Gingrich is involved in all that. But that was the last time we actually reduced the size of our government. And the reason this is so important, let me put it this way. The federal government right now spends 24% of our GDP. State and local governments spend 20% of our GDP. And then the cost of us complying with regulation. So just think taxes, how much time you have to spend doing your taxes. And that's 7% of GDP. Add up all those numbers, it's 51% of GDP is taken by government. They either borrow it or they tax it, but it's taken by them and used for their purposes. And so then you start to think, well, if we're only left with 49% of our production, no wonder houses aren't affordable. Like if you only have half of what you produced, houses didn't go up half of what they're supposed to go up. And everybody wants to blame Blackstone and BlackRock and Airbnb, but it's really the government that's taking over half of everything we produce and using it for their own benefit, their own needs. And I know they're giving it to voters and giving it to the society or, through millions of different ways. But the point I'm getting to is if you take half of what Pauline makes and give it to Peter, neither one of them can afford a house. And this is why we have an affordability crisis.
Brian Wesbury, Chief Economist, First Trust Portfolios. Brian, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Dan.
And Brian joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-869-2045 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-869-2045. That's 800-869-2045. What do you have to lose? Call 800-869-2045. Again, 800-869-2045.
Platform safety is critical at your commercial and industrial facility. Keeping people safe and meeting OSHA requirements isn't optional. That's why Vans Industrial offers free platform inspections by professional structural engineers who know exactly what to look for. Problems with platforms, ladders, or stairs can lead to costly fines or worse. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to protect people in your facility.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. With decades of experience, I bring long-standing industry knowledge from inspecting, correcting, and replacing countless platforms to make facilities safer. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor equipped to modify or replace steel catwalks, handrails, stairways, and ladders. Our union building trades professionals fabricate and install high-quality steel systems that create safer work environments.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free platform inspection by professional structural engineers. See what else we can do for you. Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS Industrial.com.
It's news, opinion, and insight at the speed of your life. Streaming at 560theanswer.com on the AM 560 mobile app, or tell your smart speaker to play The Answer Chicago.
Sunshine and 38 in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom. The U.S. and Iran reportedly closing in on a memorandum aimed at ending the war. President Trump expressing confidence in a deal being reached. Meantime, the French Navy is getting ready for a potential mission in the Strait of Hormuz. Fox's Jonathan Savage is in our European bureau.
Europe's most powerful warship has arrived in the Middle East. A French aircraft carrier strike group has transited the Suez Canal and is now in the Red Sea. The Charles de Gaulle is preparing for a possible French-British operation in the Strait of Hormuz. French President Emmanuel Macron says he hopes to restore confidence among ship owners and insurers.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio meeting with Pope Leo at the Vatican today. The meeting comes after earlier encounters between the two and follows recent political tension between the White House and the Vatican. Mayor Brandon Johnson trying to convince state lawmakers that Chicago is still the best place for the Bears. Mayor lobbied legislative leaders yesterday in Springfield to reject the so-called mega projects bill.
We already know the governor doesn't like the bill. The Bears do not like the bill. There are members in the Senate caucus, both sides of the aisle, that do not like the bill.
Round Lake Heights police saying Wednesday the department is investigating an incident at an area middle school after 6 students were hospitalized after ingesting THC gummies. The district saying the sickened children were hospitalized for medical intervention and are now in stable condition. Cubs beat the Reds 3-2 for their 7th straight win. Sox fell to the Angels 4-3, and they open a 9-game homestand on Friday. The news, a service of Woodland Windows and Doors in Roselle. Brighten your home and make the rooms in your home bigger, better, with larger windows or patio doors this spring. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your consultation today. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Firago, the immune enhancement cocktail.
Hey, if you're living with joint pain, listen up. I want you to try something different. You don't have to live in pain every day. Have a conversation with my friends at QC Kinetics and tell them I sent you when you do. They offer all-natural regenerative treatments for joint pain. I've seen the results and personally recommend Dr. Caravelli and her team. Stop saying to yourself, this is just how I am now. That's not okay. Get back to the normal you, the one who is active and carefree. QC Kinetics is helping AM 560 listeners with pain from arthritis or injury in their knees, hips, and shoulders. Now they're moving again, golfing and running without surgery or long recovery. The science is real. The treatments are natural. Your body knows how to heal. QC Kinetics will show you how without surgery. Don't watch summer pass you by again, stuck on your couch, afraid to move. Take action today. Schedule an appointment right now. Consultations are free. Call 312-827-6261. That number again, 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
If you're over 65 and struggling with knee pain, Joint Relief Institute offers a guaranteed way to treat it. It's non-surgical and often covered by Medicare and private insurance. It's JRI's Joint Arthritis Treatment, knee lubrication placement that's so accurate it's 100% guaranteed and can relieve your knee and shoulder pain in 10 minutes or less. Book your risk-free consultation today and get back to walking, golfing, pickleball to cycling without pain or medication. Call 708-315-6800. Meet the provider, get an x-ray and joint consultation. Why wait? JRI has treated over 30,000 Chicagoans and performed over 400,000 procedures. You could be next. Over 5,000 five-star Google reviews can't be wrong.
Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800 for the Joint Relief Institute. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found Tax Relief Advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-575-8924. 800-575-8924. That's 800-575-8924.
Amazon Business. Discover smart business buying where unmatched selection meets AI-driven tools to simplify complex processes so you can focus on what matters most. Learn more at AmazonBusiness.com.
7:38 in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Northwest side, we have an accident, Harlem and Talcott. The traffic signals are totally disabled, in fact, being torn down by a truck that hit those traffic signals. Route 53, stop and go in the roadwork zone from the Jane Addams I-90 up into Northwest Highway. Jane Addams traveling eastbound, your jam Meacham to Route 53. And on I-57, of an accident, overturned vehicle southbound at Wilmington Peatone Road. Traffic, a service of Mattress Firm, ready to upgrade to the perfect sleep setup. Let Mattress Firm's sleep experts guide you to the perfect bed at the Memorial Day sale. Top brands, Ideal Comfort, Mattress Firm, they make sleep easy. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. A check of the morning weather in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. Of times of clouds and sun today, chance of an afternoon shower, and a high near 58.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Time now for another reason why Dan Proft is single.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. What do our feathered friends know? This is science. Look, it's just the science. This is a study that was published, or the results published in the Scientific American, all right? Scientific American. Go check it out yourself. It turns out that European great tits and... I thought I could get through it. I can't. It's a bird. They're birds. That's how you say it. I'm so juvenile. European great tits and 36 other bird species on the continent are more afraid of women than they are of men, according to a study. And researchers have no idea why. I do. In the study, science. But I got to admit, when I read the first line, I thought they were talking about Sophia Loren. In a study, men could get about a meter closer to birds than women could before the animals flew away, according to the results. They're leaving. A woman just happened upon them. This pattern remained regardless of what the men and women were wearing, what their height was, or how they tried to approach the creatures. Birds. Women affected to birds. This suggests birds may be able to suss out the sex of a human, though they're not sure how. The things we still don't know. Daniel Blumstein is a co-author of the study. He's a professor at the University of California and a European great tits enthusiast, I'm sure. Said, I firmly believe our results that urban birds react differently based on the sex of the person approaching them, but I can't explain them right now. The researchers looked at birds living in urban centers in 5 European countries. They included birds that are known to flee as soon as a human approaches, such as magpies, and then those that tend to flap off later, such as pigeons. The outsized fear response to women was consistent across the species. Burn brains the hell, you say. I say. The research team, hypothesized that birds may be sensing chemical signals such as pheromones or using cues such as body shape to recognize a person's sex. But more research is needed before they can come to any conclusions. We have identified a phenomenon, but we really don't know why. However, what our results do highlight is the bird's sophisticated ability to evaluate their environment, said study co-author Federico Morelli, an associate professor at the University of Turin, also a European great tits enthusiast. Look, I get it. I think the birds are reacting to these urban bitches the same way that many of us do. Rick in Downers Grove, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning. I think they ought to specifically try the educated white suburban woman, because there ain't nothing that wants to be around them.
Thanks, Rick. Yeah, I mean, if anybody else has a theory to contribute to this scientific exploration, please do give us a call, 312-642-5600. That's the alphawealthgroup.com answer line and text line. You know, men of science need to come together, and women too, to answer this question. Speaking of, Charlize Theron, she's a bit of a nut. I think birds, I think she can't get within even 2 meters of a bird before they fly away. She recently gave an interview on a podcast talking about how she's raising her kids. And remember, she's adopted 2 kids. At least one of them is trans, an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old. The 14-year-old, she calls her daughter, even though he's a boy. I'm not sure if the other one, I thought initially that they were both, identifying as boys, but they're well, I don't know. They were both identifying as trans, and she was celebrating that. I remember saying something about this when they were much younger. But regardless, it gives you a sense of what's going on there. She was talking in part positively about she's not going to support her kids as adults, that they better get ready to start working. And she takes them to Starbucks. She, tells them that, get ready to have to, do this routine and so on and so forth of getting up and being responsible and putting in a day's work. That's all well and good. But it starts to go off the rails a little bit. This was on that Call Her Daddy podcast with that ghastly woman. Remember, the Kamala paid $1 million to set up this podcast with this Call Her Daddy chick. Thoron went on to explain that her children growing up without a father is worth it. Because being a single mother means, quote, I don't have to run every effing thing by a guy. With women, it's always like something must be wrong with her. She can't keep a man. And it's never part of the discussion of like, wow, she's really living her truth. Those kids are, boy, they don't have a chance. I look at them and just be like, good English. Do you know how effing great it is to live exactly how I want to live, to experience motherhood exactly how I wanted to experience it? And she knows that people say, well, that's not fair to your kids. And then her response to that straw man that she set up, can I tell you something? That will be their story to tell. I can't tell you. I can only tell you that this is the best way that I know how to be a mother to them. And maybe they'll grow up and tell their story, and I will respect that. I just know that this was the only way I knew I could do it. And my effing God, do I love every single day of it. I love that I don't have to share them with somebody. I love that I don't have to run every effing thing by a guy. She's got a little bit of a potty mouth, that Charlize Theron. But this whole attitude, Charlize Theron is in my age cohort. So, I mean, this is the whole, second and third wave feminist rap that you get all the time. All the time. But anyway, if anybody has, any theories about the European great tits and those 36 other species of birds that are spooked by the distaff side, please do give us a call. 312-642-5600, alphawealthgroup.com, answer line. Matt's outside.
Hey, Dan, good morning. So you're telling me a bird can tell the difference between a man and a woman, but a Democrat can't?
Hi-oh. Even a Supreme Court justice. Right. These birds are more sophisticated than Ketanji Brown Jackson. And Charlize Theron, apparently. The birds have to acknowledge reality because, they have to survive. Whereas some humans get to live in a particularly thick bubble, don't they? What 630 was this bird study backed by Peter Boghossian? No, this is not a hoax. I don't. It's good. It's a good point. If I saw Boghossian or Lindsay's name on it, I would think, okay, I'm getting punked. But no, I don't think so. Text from 312, possible scientific proof that men can't become women. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'm a fan of, I'm not like a bird watcher. By the way, just as an aside, I was going to leave this for Christian Toto, but since we're on the topic, good movie I saw that I recommended. Try to insinuate recommendations when I can. This was last year, but anything with Brendan Gleeson in it. He's one of those actors. He was in the Banshees of Inisherin with Colin Farrell. Hey, a great movie, Cavalry. Great movie. Brendan Gleeson, really good actor. H is for Hawk is the film. Thinking about birds. Now, interestingly, and this is why you know it's fiction. The story is Brendan Gleeson in part. I'm not going to give anything away, but the story is in the central part of the story is his daughter becoming a falconer. H is for Hawk. Really good film, but you know it's fiction because the woman became a falconer. At least according to this study, we don't know why yet. We're going to have to do more clinical trials with European gray tits. That's all there is to it. Steve in Downers Grove.
Yeah, Dan, thanks for taking my call. I thought you might be interested. You probably know this. On your phone, there is a bird singing app. You can put it on. It's real easy. I can even do it. And every bird that sings, its name will show up. It's really very cool. You're walking around in the woods, and you want to hear about birds. I was down in Florida, and my two favorite birds that came up were the red-headed pecker, great bird, nice sound, and the titbat down in Florida. Two really nice birds. So
very good
an idea for your phone.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. I appreciate that. Yeah. Interesting choices, too, in terms of your favorite birds. Bill in Waukegan.
Hey, Dan, thanks for taking my call. I try to more or less assess women as I would Jennifer Aniston. And that's how I apply Jennifer Aniston to my bird watching, because she's beautiful, she is attractive, she has to be smart, but there is an underlying factor about her that just makes her undesirable to males. And so I feel that same way with the bird you just mentioned, whose name I just won't mention, but it still cracked me up. But I just want to say that one flew overhead the other day and left some milk stains on my windshield.
Thanks for the call, Bill. Text from 630 from Alex P. Keaton. What would one of the European gray tits do if it landed on Sydney Sweeney? I don't know. Again, there are a lot of unanswered questions here, but maybe that could be another area of further scientific inquiry. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr. Now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it. Literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available. Financing is flexible. And at Air Right, installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
For months, you've been hearing ads about Virago Immune Support. I have to tell you, this stuff is for real. I had an occasion to not be feeling well on a remote broadcast. I took it, and it is the real deal. And the stronger your immune system, the stronger your body defends against diseases, viruses, and everything else. That's why Dr. Huber created Virago, a liquid immune booster supplement. You take it daily. It's a blend of 23 nutraceuticals working in synergy to maximize effects and boost your immune system. It's the nutraceutical cocktail for an immune system, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. Virago even protects your heart, your kidneys, your liver, all in a unique liquid supplement for better absorption. Do yourself and your spouse a favor. Order a bottle of Virago today online at myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
Let me ask you something. Does your garage floor look bad? Covered in salt, cracked, or stained from the winter's brutal blast? Well, I've got a fix for you so you can start enjoying your garage this spring. Contact my good friends at Level 10 Coatings. Level 10 brought my garage floor from dirty and gross to showroom, shiny new in just one day. Level 10 Coatings can do the same for you. A quick and easy fix, permanent durable solution. Guaranteed to never chip or peel. Get it done now so you can enjoy your garage this spring and summer. Schedule your free quote today and mention me, Amy, for $500 off. Visit level10coatings.com. That's level, the number 10, coatings.com. Level10coatings.com or call 855-510-2628. Again, that's 855-510-2628. Level 10 Coatings, your premier concrete coating experts.
Mike Lindell and the MyPillow employees want to thank you for your great support this past year. They want to make 2026 the best year ever. So to thank you, they are giving you free shipping on your entire order and wholesale pricing. So they are bringing back the mega sale. For example, the classic MyPillows, regularly $49.98, now only $14.98. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the made in the USA MyPillow My Mattress Topper and save up to $100. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $34.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. These offers won't last long, so call 800-489-0201 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free.
Food, fuel, jobs. It all starts with homegrown Illinois corn. Driving a $148 billion economic impact, corn supports thousands of jobs and strengthens communities across our state. It's advancing cleaner burning biofuels, expanding plant-based manufacturing, and growing a renewable economy. Illinois corn isn't just an agricultural success, it's a strategic investment in energy, innovation, and economic growth. See what's possible at ilcorn.org.
Take the journey of living a happy, successful, and meaningful life through God. Listen to It's Time with Dan Lights, Sunday mornings at 9 on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560, The Answer.
I think this is another example of what our feather friends are picking up with females. The performance art that took place in Venice this past week at the 61st Art Biennale, a modern art event. Australian artist Florentina Holzinger, she created, I guess, a couple of different instances. One was a woman hanging upside down in a bell, serving effectively as the clapper. Isn't that what you call the thing that makes the noise, bangs against the bell itself, the clapper? Hanging and then swaying back and forth. And this was to have this dumbbell ring the bell for climate change. Florentina Holzinger also created this, SeaWorld Venice, from the art newspaper. Long before she was accidentally mining 1990s Hollywood flops, Holzinger was making a name for herself with works of performance art so visceral and in your face that audience members were fainting with shock. Her bloody horror ballet premiered in Vienna with content warnings for nudity, blood, needles, strobes, and graphic violence. People walked out, some even passed out. 18 people were treated for severe nausea after attending her 2024 performances of her opera Sancta in Stuttgart, which combined nudity, real sex, live piercing, body fluids, heavy machinery. SeaWorld Venice, the world functions as an underwater theme park, sewage treatment plant, and sacred building, imagining Venice as a flooded metropolis. Live performers present throughout the 7-month duration of the installation playing characters in this watery nightmare world are totally dependent on technology for their survival. I think the birds are onto something. It's now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
China is getting more involved. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, trying to end the Iran conflict, which has cut off oil shipments with the U.S. blockade on Iran's ports. And China is ordering companies there to ignore American sanctions.
So just a couple days ahead of President Trump's trip to China, the Chinese are hosting Iran's foreign minister. President Trump is trying to wind this war down before his visit.
Fox's Peter Doocy reports from the White House as the U.S. awaits Iran's response to a proposed framework of a deal.
Officials here from the president on down seem to think that they are getting pretty close to achieving the original goal of this war, which is stopping Iran from building a nuclear bomb.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio has just left the Vatican after spending the last several hours talking to Pope Leo, who faced strong criticism from President Trump over his criticism of the U.S.-Iran conflict, calling for peace.
So we'll wait to see if Secretary Rubio was able to ease the tensions between the president and the Pope. Rubio made it clear, though, guys, that was not the main point of this trip. He says this visit had been planned before these exchanges between President Trump and Pope Leo. Still, this was a moment for dialogue. The Pope said he had hoped they could reach a moment of understanding.
Fox's Madeline Rivera. Tornadoes have twisted apart several Mississippi communities. At least 17 people are injured. Nearly 500 homes damaged. Trees and power lines are down. Some roads are blocked as crews go through hard-hit areas. The cruise ship, full of quarantined passengers, has finally found a port after a hantavirus outbreak that's left 3 people dead.
The MV Hondias is heading from the West African coast on its way to Spain's Canary Islands. The vessel is expected to dock in Tenerife maybe as soon as Saturday, where the Spanish health minister says everyone on board will undergo medical tests. And if they're healthy, they'll be permitted to travel back to their home countries.
That's Fox's Jeff Paul. There is some concern about some passengers who got off the ship after the outbreak started. America's listening to Fox News.
39 degrees in Chicago, 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. I'm Mike Scott in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Family and friends will gather later today to remember the Chicago police officer shot and killed last month at a North Side hospital. Visitation for Officer John Bartholomew will be held from 2 to 8 p.m. at St. Andrew's Greek Orthodox Church in Chicago. 2 teens are charged after a resource officer lost a gun at an Arlington Heights school. It happened at the Forest View Educational Center, where the Arlington Heights officer reported his service weapon missing after removing it from his holster while using the restroom on Monday. Detectives later determined that an 18-year-old student took the unattended firearm from a restroom shortly after school was dismissed, and shortly thereafter gave the weapon to a 17-year-old in a neighboring community. The longtime deputy district director for Congressman Danny Davis is accused of fraudulently obtaining unemployment insurance benefits during the COVID pandemic. Gerard Moorer of Chicago is charged with 3 counts of wire fraud. Prosecutors say back in May of 2020, Moorer filed a fraudulent application for pandemic unemployment assistance benefits. As a result of that fraud, Moorer, who was employed, obtained a nearly $32,000 check. Cubs beat the Reds 3-2. White Sox fell to the Angels 4-3. The News of American is a service of American Beam and Steel, structural repair license contractors for your home and business. Search for American Beam and Steel online to schedule your consultation directly with the owner, Mark, at American Beam and Steel. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
McDonald's has been cutting prices and it's paying off. Its earnings and revenue topped expectations in the recent quarter. McDonald's launched its McValue meals last year with $5 deals and buy one, add one for $1 offers. It expanded the platform this year, adding $3 menu items and $4 breakfast meal deals. McDonald's also has been rolling out refreshers and crafted sodas and also plans to sell energy drinks. McDonald's shares up 3%. Kenvue, parent company of Tylenol and Listerine, is reporting an upbeat quarter. Shares are narrowly higher. Krispy Kreme says it's seeing signs of its turnaround efforts paying off. It narrowed its loss in the recent quarter. It's been selling its donuts at Walmart, Target, and Costco. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Cosola. Invested in you.
Hugh Hewitt sees our education system lacking.
American education has failed in a monumental way to instill basic decency, love of country, civic culture, the ability to disagree, basic American common sense. We're all in this together, and that's been shattered.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Alex Marlowe at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-522-2174. 800-522-2174. 800-522-2174.
Our founders believed that freedom wasn't just a word. It was a way of life. The freedom to move, the freedom to pursue what matters most, the freedom to live fully. But pain has a way of taking those freedoms from us. That's why Relief Factor exists. My pain had become so bad years ago that I couldn't paint, I couldn't work, I couldn't sleep. I was barely holding on. I was losing hope until my wife forced me to try Relief Factor. I didn't think it would work because it's 100% natural, drug-free, blah, blah, blah. But it absolutely broke the back of my pain. It might work for you. Over 1 million Americans have found relief and reclaimed parts of their life they thought were behind them. So this year, as we celebrate 250 years of freedom, ask yourself the simple question: are you living with the freedom you deserve? Relief Factor gives you the opportunity to live pain-free. Get your life back, the life you'll love. Try Relief Factor today. $19.95, 3-week quick start. Ready for you now. ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4-RELIEF. 800, the number 4, RELIEF.
8:07. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. We'll start on the Stevenson, where outbounders, you've got big delays between the Rhine and Pulaski in that roadwork zone where the roadway's down to 2 lanes. Stop and go on the Dan Ryan. Locals inbound jammed up Garfield into Roosevelt. Solid traffic on DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Typical heavies northbound right at Foster. Tri-State, an accident, 2 left lanes blocked. It's on the southbound side between I-80 and it's backing up from Halstead. Traffic, a service of the AM 560 store. T-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Prof University and The Sean Thompson Show. Go to 560theanswer.com/store. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now a check of your forecast in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect a mix of clouds and sunshine with a chance of a shower in the area this afternoon. The high will reach 61 degrees. Tonight will be partly cloudy with a chance of a shower in spots, and the low will be around 44 degrees. Tomorrow, anticipate variable cloud cover with a few showers possible, and temperatures will climb to a high of 63 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering 24/7 security solutions for homes and businesses. Call them today at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. I want to go back to something we tackled earlier in the program, but we have an expert and a former practitioner coming up next. I want to get his opinion on it. Silvana Taveras, the alderhuman, testifying in the CCPSA confirmation hearing, directing her comments to Anjanette Young, who was name was put forward for this civilian police accountability board. I mean, that's the way it's pitched. Anjanette Young was the victim of a mistaken CPD raid a couple of years back. Was a cause celeb of Kim Fox's for discussing police misconduct, essentially. This is what Taveras had to say, though. Anjanette Young was wrongfully, her home was wrongfully raided, and so she deserved justice. There's no question about that. Police do make mistakes, and you got to own your mistakes. Fine, but it doesn't make her any sort of particular expert on policing or public safety. And Taveras was quick to point to some comments she made that would suggest quite the opposite, in fact. On the Dexter Reed case, the attempted cop killer who shot a cop, opened fire on cops, and the city was ready to make a settlement with the family.
Recently, the city council denied a proposed lawsuit settlement for the estate of attempted police murderer Dexter Reed. In that incident, Reed shot a police officer. Mm-hmm. You were quoted in an interview with WTTW calling police returning fire excessive. With the statistics telling the truth, and as we prepare for an officer's funeral on Friday, I don't think that this is the perspective of somebody who can be objective. You're before the committee today seeking an appointment to a commission born out of the same movement that also saw the skyrocketing of attacks on police. Since its creation of the CCPSA, the commission has mostly pushed efforts to restrict officers, despite data showing more violence is done to officers, not by officers.
For reaction to that and discussion on a number of other issues, please be joined by Bob Milan, former First Assistant State's Attorney for Cook County, former Assistant U.S. Attorney in the Northern District of Illinois as well. Bob, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Sure, Dan. Always good to talk to you.
What about what Alderhuman Taveras had to say about the CCPSA, the genesis of it, the utility of it, and, of course, the backdrop of this is all the increase in violence directed at police, as Taveras mentioned, since the George Floyd riots?
Well, she's right about the statistics. The statistics do bear out that there's far more violence directed at the police than they do towards anybody in the public. And if you look at the years, the amount of police shootings where they were put in a position where they had to fire at somebody have gone down. And so that's all positives. And at the time that we're dealing with right now with the death of Officer Bartholomew and his serious injury of his partner, we should be doing everything we can to back the police operations and not criticize them.
The Cook County State's Attorney Eileen O'Malley Madigan Cullerton Burke, big Irish name. She sort of has largely skated on culpability here. We're talking a lot about Judge Like. I'm talking about the case involving the criminal who shot and killed Bartholomew and seriously injured his partner. And cases like that, where you have basically the Safety Act striking again and again and again against whether it's law enforcement or innocent civilians. Bethany McGee comes to mind. Eileen Burke has sort of not been focused upon. We're talking about the politicians, which is fair. Talking about the judges, that's also fair. But there was a piece earlier this week at CWB Chicago where some defense attorneys were interviewed, and I said, it's fine for criticism to be directed at the judge and the pretrial detention decisions that are made by Cook County judges. But, if Burke's office disagrees with a judge, for example, releasing a repeat violent offender under whatever theory, but, with the Safety Act as cover, they do have some remedies they can attempt to apply. They could seek a motion for relief, I should say, essentially for reconsideration of, for example, a judge's decision to release a prisoner release a suspect on electronic monitoring. They could also take the matter to an appellate court under Supreme Court Rule 604, and those tools, according to the CWB analysis, have rarely been used by Eileen Burke's office, including in the case of Talley, the man who is charged with killing Officer Bartholomew and seriously wounding his partner. So does the state's attorney deserve some scrutiny here and questioning about why they're not pressing judges harder with all of the tools at their disposal?
Well, let me just start out by saying that at the actual hearings on Talley and other high-profile cases, clearly the assistant state's attorneys are making very strong to keep these people locked up and detained. I've been impressed, by the assistant state's attorneys in court making the records. But to your question, yes, more can be done. All of these decisions to not detain are appealable. And I don't think there's ever been a single appeal filed on any of these over the years, and that has to change. The other thing that's important.
There's been a few, according to CWB Chicago, but I mean it's very few considering how many stories we have week after week of people on pretrial release for a violent crime committing another violent crime, and that's the issue. So yeah, that's where we're going.
Yeah, and so it has to start. You have to start doing it, because what are you doing? You're setting a pattern. You're setting an example throughout the court system that we're not going to take this anymore on these kind of cases. I mean, the Talley case is a perfect example. There was no appeal filed that I'm aware of, or a petition to reconsider, and so pulling these out on the street. So that has to change. And the second thing is, I would hope that the elected state's attorney of the biggest county in the state of Illinois would take a position on the Safety Act. I mean, she's been totally silent on it, and she is the person that deals with it the most. And we would hope that she would stand up with others like me and say, let's amend the Safety Act right now. I mean, we're not calling to throw it out. We're calling to make logical amendments to this so it is safe for the streets. Because right now it's a danger act. I mean, it's intentionally releasing dangerous people on the street. It's putting judges in a position where they cannot consider criminal backgrounds on many cases. They can't even consider a guy's criminal. And so they have to let these guys out. And it's what it's done is it's encouraged judges like the judge in the Talley case to let dangerous guys out. So I would hope she'd stand up and take a position on this, because I haven't heard her take any position on it.
Why suggest amending it and not just repealing it outright?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Why would you? Why suggest amending it rather than just repealing it outright?
Because I think you have to be realistic. I don't think that's going to happen in this state.
No, I understand, but you stake out the ground of.
The amendments I'm taking, well, because be realistic. I mean, you're not going to, I don't think most people even care about the cashless part, right? I certainly don't. This could be a very good act if you make about 4 or 5 amendments. If you allow judges, you give judges discretion to hold everybody from a Class A and up based on the charged crime and their criminal background. You don't require prosecutors to have to file petitions to detain. Experienced judges should be able to hear the facts, hear the background, and make their decision on their own. You make it so that you amend the act to allow judges to detain a defendant if he violates his conditions of release, like doesn't appear or drops hot on a drug test. They're not allowed to do that. You do statewide for these judges to enforce the importance of protecting the public from lawless offenders. And then unrelated to this, but somewhat related, is you got to end this electronic monitoring. It's not working, right? It's not working. So,
right.
And if you did that, this would be a pretty good act.
Well, so in other words, if you gutted it, it would be a pretty good act. I mean, so I guess that's my point.
You could say that's gutting it. I guess you could say it's gutting it. I mean, that's there's degrees, but look, here's how it was pitched to us, right, Dan? It was pitched to us. A millionaire can get out for a case, but a poor person can't, right? Yeah. So that's how it was pitched to the public. So we have to end cash. We have to take money out of it. All right, let's take it out. But don't do all these other things that it did. And so let's face it, the governor has to wear the jacket for this. I mean, Bartholomew's dead, and the other officers probably paralyzed for life. The governor and the speaker and the head of the Senate, president of the Senate, they gotta wear the jacket for this, because they're the ones that put this in motion and got it signed, and that's where we're at. Absolutely right. And that's something else that Eileen Burke and others should be saying. Let's start. There's a lot of responsibility to go around, but let's start at the top. Because the thing about it is, you still have these judges, though. Like, if I could, in the Talley case. I mean, the things he said, according to the court record, are akin to what Tim Evans used to say about, the prefrontal cortex is not fully formed until the age of 26. So, he looked at this guy, this cop killer's record of violence and disappearance, and said, well, he's got a kid now. I think he's matured from when I saw him in court the first time a couple of years back, even though he had committed all these offenses in the intervening period. And so I'm going to roll the dice with him because he's not, his mental, capacity isn't fully formed. He's only 25 at the time or something like that. I mean, that kind of judicial philosophy, to be generous, is an anathema to public safety. I mean, so there's also a problem with accountability from by the chief judge with respect to judges if we're going to be serious about public safety too. Oh, absolutely. Look, no one can tell me that they're not being told. Judges aren't being told by the powers that be to release these guys. Nobody could make a decision like that. If you brought 10 common citizens in, not even lawyers in, and they heard these facts, 4-time convicted armed robber, convicted of attack on a correctional officer, possession of a stolen motor vehicle. Now he has an armed vehicular hijacking and an armed robbery, and you're going to let that guy out?
I know.
No one can tell me. The 10 people on the street would have said, oh, no, we're not letting this guy on the street. But a trained judge in Cook County does that, right? Why? Because they're being told to do it. This stuff he said about the brain and all that, he just said it. The reality is he's being told. His quote, and this is how we know that they're being told this, and this is how we know that the Safety Act is causing this. His quote where he says, under the state's old bail system, Talley would have faced $1 million bail. However, our esteemed legislature says, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to make judges take a critical look at it. Did he ever? And now we have a dead police officer 37, 38 years old, another guy in critical condition, all because of this nonsense they're being told. It makes me sick.
So, I mean, when you say they're being told, are you suggesting it's sort of one of these things, everybody knows what to do, so nobody has to give the order? Or are you suggesting Chief Judge Beach is telling his judges, this is what you're going to do?
This started before Chief Judge Beach was named. No, this started
that's true.
When this act. So this is coming from, the Black Caucus. They pushed the Safety Act. This is coming from the powers that be in the Democratic Party. And look, how do you, if you're a judge, how do you get on the appellate court? You make these guys happy. How do you get on the Illinois Supreme Court? You make these guys happy. You don't make waves. You do what you're told. And what results in that? When you're worried about your own future and good things happening for you in the future, you end up with dead citizen. You end up with a girl on fire on the CTA. Her life is ruined. You end up with a dead Chicago cop. We could go on and on. If this doesn't change now, it's never going to change.
Yeah. Well said. Something else I wanted to get your take on. This is, I can't say it's surprising. Kim Foxx. Kim Foxx said in a deposition last month she personally believed two men who were exonerated and whose certificates of innocence were not opposed by her office when she was state's attorney were in fact guilty of a, quote, the, quote, heinous act of murder for which they were convicted. One of the two men reached a wrongful conviction settlement with the city of Chicago, so large, meaning it's more than 100,000, it's waiting city council approval. The man accused of being his accomplice is preparing to take his lawsuit to a federal jury next week. There was a cop who had been basically found to have committed misconduct, but and I don't need to get into the details of the case. The bottom line is she believed, despite what the police officer, the investigator in the case did, that these guys were guilty, but she didn't oppose the certificate of innocence. She basically walked away from it. And there's another case. This was back in her city club speech where she announced that she wasn't running again, where she suggested a woman who was convicted for a crime that she didn't commit, but she hadn't, and the woman was in the audience and she had said something to Kim Foxx before her city club speech. But Kim Foxx says in the deposition under oath, she had no basis to make that statement. She didn't know the facts of the case. And under additional questioning, the attorney asked, so did you basically just repeat what she told you and accept that as gospel? And she said, yeah, you could say that. So we have people that, one, she thought were guilty, and she turns a blind eye to their exoneration and now payouts by the city. And the other, who also has a civil suit against the city, she just repeats publicly her version of events, such that now that woman suing the city, saying she was convicted of a crime she never committed, is using Kim Foxx's words as evidence in her civil trial against the city of Chicago. I mean, are you telling me there's nothing that can be done with this kind of behavior by a former Cook County State's attorney?
Yeah, well, let's take the first example. The office did oppose the certificate of innocence for 5 years and then suddenly changed their position. And it's important for the people to understand what the law is for certificate of innocence. It's not complicated. It's now the burden shifts. So in order to get a certificate of innocence, the offender has to prove that they were actually innocent of the crime they were charged for. So they have to prove in terms of the evidence that they were innocent of the case they were charged with. There's a difference between finding them not guilty, which means the state didn't meet its burden, and actual innocence, which means the guy didn't do it, right? There's a big gap there.
Right.
And so what we don't know is what made her change her mind 5 years later. And so I'm not going to speculate. Maybe there was a legitimate reason. I don't know. But I know that under her administration, they were giving these things out like candy, right? Like, I read that they were giving 4 out of 5 out. I mean, that's insane, right? And so a responsible prosecutor has to look at this and say, all right, judge found him not guilty, or a jury found him not guilty. Is he actually innocent? If not, and you have evidence, you fight it. And that's what you do. You go to war and you fight it. And you know what? Granting of certificates of innocence have been reversed by the appellate court in Illinois. So judges have given them out, you appeal it, and they've been reversed. They said, nope, there's enough evidence there. He was unable to prove that he was actually innocent. And so, it's just important for the public to understand how these things work.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate the explanation. But in the case of the men she's testified, or that she said in a deposition, so under oath, she believed they were guilty, but she walked away from opposing the certificate of innocence. And so I mean, is there any potential criminal legal exposure there?
No, against her? No.
Yeah.
You can say whatever she wants. The question is this. She said, I believe they were innocent, but we still granted the certificate. All right. What was the evidence? What changed in the evidence? One thing to say, I believe he did it. Did something change in your evidence? She owes the public an explanation why you would do that. Here's the other thing. These certificates of innocence get waved around in federal court and in state court, and they turn murderers into millionaires. And that's what's going on here. That's what's going on 26 in California. They're trying to turn these murderers into millionaires, and it makes me sick. And so you need strong prosecutors to take them on. You go all out. If you lose, you lose, but you got to fight. And under that administration, they weren't fighting. They were laying down and just giving it to them. And so could you imagine? And here's the other thing they weren't doing. They weren't notifying victims' families when they were dismissing cases and when they were granting these certificates of innocence. So could you imagine you lose your father 20 years ago, and all of a sudden you see on the news that the guy's getting $1 million, and you're like, whoa, nobody even called me. Right? That's what was going on. I mean, it's ridiculous what happened under that administration.
Bob Milan, former first assistant state's attorney, Cook County, also former assistant U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Illinois. Bob, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Good talking to you, Dan.
You too. And Bob Milan joined us on the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, Chicagoland, it's Jeff from Jeff Buys Your House. If you recently inherited a property, you're likely navigating a lot right now. Loss, family decisions, and maybe some difficult conversations. And now there's a house to figure out. Here's what we've learned from helping hundreds of families since 2007. Every inherited home situation is different, and we're not here to judge. We're here to help. Our veteran-led team has seen it all. Houses that need major repairs, properties full of a lifetime of belongings, and families that just want a simple solution so they can move forward. Here's what you need to know. You don't need to repair anything or clear anything out. We'll give you a straightforward cash offer with no obligation, and you choose the closing timeline. Simple, respectful, straightforward. If you need guidance on your next steps with an inherited property, we are here for you. Call 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or jeffbuysyourhouse.com.
AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up at 8:38, Christian Toto, host of the Hollywood in Toto, TOTO podcast, joins us to talk about comedians and celebrities. It's been a week full of pronouncements from both, including Stephen Colbert's sit down with the Messiah. We'll start there with Christian Toto, 8:38. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
39 degrees in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. In the QC Kinetics newsroom, we're following breaking news this morning, and a road is closed in South Elgin related to the investigation for a teen girl who disappeared about 10 years ago. King County State's Attorney's Office and the Fox Valley Major Crimes Task Force are conducting a forensic excavation into the 2016 disappearance of a 17-year-old, Kiana Galvin. The excavation is being conducted after investigators apparently scanned that property with ground-penetrating radar. U.S. and Iran are reportedly closing in on a memo that's aimed at ending the war. Secretary of State Marco Rubio meeting with Pope Leo at the Vatican later today. Family and friends are gathering later today to remember the Chicago police officer shot and killed last month at a Northside hospital. Visitation for Officer John Bartholomew will be held from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. at St. Andrew's Greek Orthodox Church in Chicago. And Round Lake Heights police say the department is in the middle of an investigation into an incident at an area middle school after 6 students were hospitalized after ingesting THC gummies. Cubs beat the Reds, White Sox fell to the Angels, and the news is a service of Steiner Homes. Building homes is more than a business, it's a calling. Family-owned and dedicated to building custom homes with care, integrity, and craftsmanship you can trust. SteinerHomesLTD.com, Northwest Indiana's leading home builder. Steiner Homes, love where you live. A check of the roads in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
For over a decade, AM 560 has marked the start of summer with a night of cigar smoking and great conversation. And this year, we're proud to welcome the editor-in-chief of Breitbart News to Cigar Night. He's Alex Marlowe, and he'll join AM 560's Dan Proft and Sean Thompson on Tuesday, May 19th at Gobert's Farm in Pingree Grove for a night you won't forget. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. Sponsored by Donley Auctions.
Why would you take your precious metal collections to some fly-by-night roadshow that rolls into town once a year? The only thing you need to do is follow the road to Fox Valley Coins and show your gold or silver to the team. Gold is at an all-time historical high, so don't keep sitting on your coin hoards or old jewelry that you've been saving to sell when the time is right. The time is right now. Prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins in bars, but also those old coin collections. You might have scarce dates or higher grade coins, so take advantage of the record high market price and the demand now. Whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out values, trust the team at Fox Valley Coins. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just 1 light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Now that spring is here, it's time for some spring home maintenance.
That's cold!
Hot water issues? Call CenterGuard Plumbing. Right now, get a new 40-gallon atmospheric vent water heater installed for just $1,295 standard installation, or a 50-gallon for $1,395 standard installation with free haul away of your old tank. A proud sponsor of AM 560, you'll save hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on tankless and atmospheric vent water heaters with CenterGuard Plumbing. Plus, get 10% off any licensed plumbing contractor competitor's price. CenterGuard Plumbing is Chicagoland's same-day water heater experts. Call before noon, and they can schedule your repair or install the same day on in-stock water heaters. You're only a text away from install today. Call 847-406-8883. Mention AM 560 to receive spring special pricing. That's 847-406-8883. Call or text 847-406-8883 or visit CenterGuardPlumbing.com.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. Today's Democrats seem to be trying a new take on the Extreme Makeover reality show. Their offshoot, I'd call it Extremist Makeover. And we see it in their likely candidate for Senate in Maine. Looks pretty close to certain that Democrats will be nominating Oysterman Graham Plattner in the Pine Tree State. He is not a liberal. Plattner's not even a leftist. He's an extremist. For years, he had the tattoo of a death head worn proudly by the Nazi-era SS, Hitler's worst of the worst. It was and remains a vile symbol worn by the guards at the concentration extermination camps. Maine's current, and I trust future, senator is Susan Collins. Collins and Plattner could not be more different. It's rare to have a Susan Collins represent your state from a position of power and influence. Do so with class and humility. To trade that in for a death skull and online bigotry, it doesn't seem like a bet Mainers are going to make.
.839 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Eden's accident right shoulder. It's on the inbound side at Wilson. An accident on the outbound Ike at Austin. It's being shifted off to the right-hand shoulder. I-57 inbound at 127th. Stop-and-go traffic from Sibley into 127th with an accident on the right-hand shoulder. Traffic, a service of Discover. When you hear a good idea, it's natural to do a double take. That's what you might do when you hear Discover. We'll automatically double all the cashback you've earned on your credit card at the end of your first year with Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/credit card. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but first, a check of your weather in the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center. Clouds and sun today with a shower, high near 58.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and Stephen Colbert did a sit-down with the Messiah. He was so far up Barack's backside, he could probably see if there were any polyps on his prostate. They're both worried. Both of these gentlemen, these deep thinkers, are very worried about the future of, the Republican Party, mainly. Colbert looking toward the midterms and worrying about this apparent divide, which doesn't exist, between so-called liberals in the neo-Marxist party and the real leftists. Not a dime's worth of difference. And Barack flipped the script, I should say, and expressed his genuine concern for the Republican Party and whether or not it will continue to be a loyal opposition party that meets his standards. I mean, the navel-gazing here is astounding.
The center is nonpartisan, but you yourself are still a member of the Democratic Party. Yeah. There's a debate on what the direction of the Democratic Party should be. It looks like it's going to be a fairly good midterm election for the Democrats. Chance to take the House, if not the Senate. But there's a big debate on what the leadership would be like going forward. Mm-hmm. Basically, it's liberals versus the left, to be very reductive about it. As my children say to me, Dad, you're a liberal. We're leftists. Because they're like, liberals are people who think things should basically stay the same. You know what I mean? And the next generation really wants things to change. So you have great leaders. You have people like Abigail Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill, very centrist. Yeah. But then you have further left, like AOC or Zoran Mamdani. Yeah. What direction do you think would be best for this party to actually achieve change?
Well, two things I want to say. First, you're right. The presidential center is nonpartisan. And the reason I want to mention that is because I'm worried about the Republican Party, not just the Democratic Party. When I was president, people would ask me, well, what change would you like to see in Washington? I'd say, I'd love a loyal opposition. I'd love a Republican Party that was conservative in some ways, that didn't agree with me on a whole bunch of stuff, but believed in rule of law and judicial independence and empirical evidence and science, and wasn't constantly tapping into our worst impulses. And there has been a Republican Party like that in the past, and I want to see that returned because I think you have to have two healthy parties.
Yeah, we need to go back to the party of Mitt Romney. I know. We need a lay-down party so to give the appearance of the loyal opposition without actually providing much opposition. No, I get it. I'll tell you what. First of all, if I'm Stephen Colbert and his kids are telling him they're leftists, not a fuddy-duddy liberal like him, which of course he's not, you may want to grow eyes in the back of your head there, Colbert. It's going to be interesting to see how they turn out. But more to the point, he is such an intellectual lightweight, which I've been saying since he first appeared on the scene, because I knew him from the General Assembly in Illinois. Such a flim-flam man. And frankly, a particularly quotidian one. It's just the cliched, platitudinous language, and obviously the dishonesty of it all. It's not even clever. It's not even well couched. He's really worried about the Republican. I want it to be viable. If only they weren't Nazis, we could have a loyal opposition party. Basically what he's attempting to say. And the disassociation. He's very concerned about the Attorney General being seen as the president's personal attorney, as opposed to the people's attorney. Like Eric Holder was, like Merrick Garland was. You can't just direct the Attorney General to go after your political opponents.
Well, there are a couple that I followed even though they weren't law. And I want us, we're going to have to do some work to return to this basic norm, and we probably now have to codify it. The White House shouldn't be able to direct the Attorney General to go around prosecuting whoever the president wants prosecuted.
And the trained SEALs applaud. It's just really difficult to get through. For more on this and other matters, Hollywood-related, Christian Toto, host of the Hollywood in Toto podcast, Hollywood in Toto, TOTO.com, HollywoodInToto.com. Christian, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
I can't even. I heard snippets of that. This is a longer segment. I just can't believe it. A couple quick thoughts. One is May 21st can't come soon enough. That's when the Late Show, Stephen Colbert, goes off the air. Secondly, I'm right of center, conservative, not by every measure, but that's generally who I am. If I ever become that bubbled, that unwilling to accept alternate points of view, I don't know, I should be put in a home or maybe just feed me some pudding or something, because it's unbelievable. And I don't know whether that's an act or that's real. I think that's my biggest question. Are they really that naive and that clueless, or is it shtick?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I think Obama's, I've always said, I just said it, he's a flim-flam man. He's like he was the face guy for the radical left, and I think that's part of his act. Now, he's been doing it for so long, has it been, totally internalized, so it's indistinguishable from who he actually is? So vacuous? Maybe. I don't know. But I mean, it's like there's little tells too. I mean, there's big tells and there's little tells. But I just love the idea. Nobody will pick up on this. The Presidential Center, that's nonpartisan. So when I step into Obama land, I'm a nonpartisan. I'm a statesman. I'm a philosopher. I'm an educator. But when I get over in the political arena, that's where I have to be more of a partisan. You see, he can shapeshift to the moment, right, and to the environment to make sure that he's just perfectly situated each time. I mean, it's just. It is. I don't know. It's nauseating.
It is, but here's the problem: there's no corrective force. There's no media that will fact check him, that will hold him accountable, that will ask him tough but fair questions. Listen, President Trump goes on Sean Hannity's show and they chat, and it has some value, but it's going to be more of a friendlier interview for sure. And there's mild value in that. I understand it. You speak to your base. That's perfectly fine. But the mainstream media, the legacy media, should be doing something, anything to hold these people accountable. And, it actually hurts the Democrats, because if you just go off on these tangents, you're so detached from reality, you don't serve your party well, you don't serve your voters well, you become weak and soft. And that's what everyone on the left sadly is these days, because they're never, ever challenged. Of course, when they get challenged, they call you Nazi and they shut you down and they throw the largest object possible in your way. So it's partly their fault. But that's what's going on right now.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, because earlier in the program we're talking to Rich Lowry about the L.A. mayor's race and Spencer Pratt and that debate the other night. And one of the things that comes through is exactly that with Karen Bass and Nithya Raman, they are so unused to having to defend themselves against like substantive criticism and an alternative point of view, that Spencer Pratt just wiped the floor with them, whether the topic was homelessness or something else. They came across as offering tired, canned lines that work well in their circles, their political circles with fellow travelers, because they're all, lobotomized and all reading from the same playbook. But when you have like this exogenous force come in, I mean, they don't know how to handle it, and they look really bad attempting.
Yeah, it's like a boxer who has a big fight in 3 months, and they decide, I'm not going to spar. I'm in good shape. I'm fine. I know how to fight. I know my approach. I've got a whole strategy set up. I'll be good. And then you go in there, you get your clock clean because you haven't been sparring for 3 months. I mean, it's something similar. They're intellectually weak, and for that reason, when they do get challenged, it might have been the Seattle mayor. Was recently challenged, and her handlers had to kind of swoop in.
Yes,
and
Kate
rescue
Wilson.
her.
Yes, Katie Wilson.
That's what happens. Yes, it happens a lot. They're not ready. They're not ready. And conservatives, for better and worse, we get attacked and we get criticized and we get called out, and we have to defend our positions. And it makes us a little more intellectually ready for the fight, for the scrap. And they don't have that.
Right. Right, and they don't get challenged. I mean, back to what you were saying before, they're certainly not going to get challenged by a media that serves as their comm shop, that's just the nature of it. So that's the good news. Bad news is there's no accountability because the media doesn't hold itself accountable. How could they hold anybody else accountable? I mean, there's just one media failure story after the other, most recently with the Southern Poverty Law Center, which indictments, which is in part a media fail. But they're going, the way the press corps is oriented now in D.C. and its regional outposts, the mentality that dominates those newsrooms, quote unquote, they are all in for pushing the candidates and the policies that they want.
Yeah, and it's worse than this. It's the comedy landscape too. Listen, Stephen Colbert, has he mentioned Eric Swalwell? Has he mentioned that Karen Bass was in Ghana when her city was on fire? I mean, did they mention the French Laundry with Gavin Newsom at the height of the COVID pandemic? That's another part of the protection racket. Listen, Saturday Night Live, I think, has a new episode maybe this weekend. I think Matt Damon might be the host. I bet you they're going to rail on Spencer Pratt. I think they may target him, but not the existing system in L.A. that's causing so much grief.
Yeah, not Nithya Raman, who blames Toyota for the incidents of catalytic converters being stolen out of Priuses in L.A. That's a Toyota engineering fail.
I think that was called up by Adam Carolla in a great bit, and that's the kind of story that should be on Jon Stewart and all these different shows, because it's hysterical, and that's where you speak truth to power. And if you don't, you're not doing your job. And Stephen Colbert hasn't done his job for 10 years.
I won't be sorry to see him go, but and it's too bad, because when he came up in the ranks through Strangers with Candy, and then obviously on the Daily Show, and even when he had his own show for a little bit, the Daily Show for a little bit, where he was doing those get to know a district interviews with politicians and stuff. I mean, that was good stuff. That was sharp stuff, and then he just decided to become a political hack. Such a waste.
Yeah, no, it's it. He has talent for sure, and maybe he'll find. Gosh, he's running a new Lord of the Rings movie. That seems crazy, but he'll have a second act. He'll do something else now, and that's fine. And that's the way the marketplace works. A private podcast or something, but it's just getting him off the Late Show is just a win, because it's terrible content. It just is terrible.
Reading your blog, I wasn't even aware of this. There was an Angel Studios produced a iteration of Animal Farm.
Yeah, no, they acquired it. They did not.
They
make
acquired
it initially. I think I think it's been floating around for a while. Director Andy Serkis, that's been his baby for quite a long time. And instead of poking at communism and Soviet-style authoritarianism, it pokes at anti-capitalism. So it changes the whole idea behind the classic Orwell book. And it's the kind of movie that has united the world because everybody hates it. It's not entertaining. It warps the whole purpose of the book. Liberal film critics just recognize it's a lousy movie. Conservatives are up in arms. And Angel Studios, which I've been very supportive of, and they do great work, and they've made very good movies, I don't know what their thinking was behind this, but acquiring this movie and putting it out there is really against their brand, and they're suffering a damage from their audience point of view. So I have to see how they go moving forward. But they've got a movie coming out very soon called Young Washington, just in time for the 250th birthday of the country. So maybe that'll kind of be their rebound. But yeah, a real bad move by them.
It's too bad. I mean, well, to do something like that and bastardize Orwell's great work is one thing. But even, some of these things, like you thought like Atlas Shrugged would make for such a good movie if it was done right. And the offerings have been terrible. I mean, the last sort of good movie I can think of that has, a strong political or economic bent to it was actually, The Fountainhead. Ayn Rand's The Fountainhead. That would, but that's obviously way back in the golden era of Hollywood.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, it's a very tough position for right of center storytellers, for right of center audiences. But when the occasional movie comes around that does appeal to conservative crowd, we don't often go support it. That's really frustrating. Richard Jewell, I guess it was maybe 2017 or so, the Clint Eastwood movie.
That was really good.
Right in the right's wheelhouse. It was about trust in the FBI. It was about the media, malfeasance. It was about narratives that were pushed that weren't true. And it was Clint Eastwood. It had everything going for it, and it bombed in theaters. And maybe they didn't market it well. Maybe you could say that maybe Warner Brothers didn't say, hey, they should have been on every conservative talk show and pushed it. But sometimes we just say, oh, we'll wait till we see it at home. I hear that a lot from my right-of-center friends, and I love my right-of-center friends. But it's frustrating because if you don't go out and see it, they're not going to make it. It's just as simple.
All right, I gotta test you on this one. Maybe you haven't seen it yet, but Jeffrey Tucker over the Brownstone Institute, I was talking to him yesterday about it, and he's got a good cultural sense, an appreciation for things that are clever and beautiful and all that. He said Devil Wears Prada 2, the sequel, was an excellent commentary on the sort of haute couture, elite culture of the day. He really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it less than he did. It's a weird movie in that it's really celebrating that kind of fashion, that culture, that elegance, that sophistication. But in the middle of all those scenes, there's talks about income inequality. So it tries to have its cake and eat it too. It's a weird kind of a film where the heroine is trying to fight the power, but she's also luxuriating in wealth and fashion and opulence. So I found it more of a mixed message. It's not a bad film, and it's a fine sequel. It's not nearly as good as the first one, but that was my take.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, now I'm a lot less enthusiastic about it. All right. Christian Toto, host of the Hollywood in Toto podcast, HollywoodInToto.com. Christian, thank you as always.
My pleasure.
And he joined us on the AlphaWealthGroup.com answer line.
Cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $283. There are only two good things about aging: wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster.
People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Right, installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you and Air Right will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, thank you for joining us on another edition of Chicago's Morning Answer. Appreciate the calls and texts. We'll continue to work with the scientific community to investigate why European great tits and 36 other bird species are afraid of women. A story that we'll be updating regularly, you can rest assured. It is now 9 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Not just any Catholic. Secretary of State Marco Rubio spent hours talking to Pope Leo today after the controversy when President Trump was critical of the Pope, calling him soft on crime and nuclear weapons after the Pope criticized the U.S. bombing of Iran.
We're told Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Pope Leo discussed the conflict in the Middle East and humanitarian efforts in the Western Hemisphere. The State Department says this meeting underscored the strong relationship between the United States and the Holy See. But it's a relationship that's been tested in recent days.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. The president insists he won't let Iran make a bomb, and we're waiting for the Iranian response to the U.S. proposal to end the conflict.
The Wall Street Journal reports the U.S. proposal includes